Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad I gave you all a nice break away from me. You know, I knew my last rant was a classic. That's majority of the reason why I didn't even give patrons a rant last night. Understand everything that I have said about Aza in this game, it has not been a personal shot towards her. It has been my exact read of her game. And this week, production has done a fantastic job, in my opinion, of showing that Aza is exactly who I told you all she was. I'm seeing people on social media actually trying to cop pleas for this lady. Well, in this rant, I'm not only going to break down more mistakes that Aza made, I'm not only going to break down that, but I'm also going to break down every single person motivation during this endurance comp, and I put enough notes in the tuck to pretty much guarantee that before this rant is over, we should know the results of the endurance comp. So, ladies and gentlemen, get yourself a cold beverage, okay? Because I am in no rush to leave you all. I want to make sure by the time this rant ends, hopefully we are somewhere near the end of this endurance competition. So why not do the rant while the endurance comp commences? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame. Recency bias radio, where no one is safe from criticism. With me, of course, is your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trio, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Big Brother US, Season 23, all of the above on that ISAT test and ACT. You know what it is. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for the 17th Big Brother 23 rant entitled Point of No Return, Coach. Now, I didn't give y'all my thoughts on Monday's episode. I didn't give y'all my thoughts on Wednesdays, and I was going to show up regardless for tonight. So why don't we go in chronological order? I'm going to give you all my thoughts on each episode from this week. Then we'll get into the live feeds notes. That's how we're going to space this out. And then towards the end, hopefully the endurance comp results will be available to us all, and then I can answer your questions based off of those results. I think that's the smartest way to go about it this week. But, ladies and gentlemen, I got a lot of stuff I want to get off my chest, okay? Now, to be fair, feeds were kind of dull. They tapered off a lot this week, mainly because it was a foregone conclusion that Whitney was done, or she was dead on arrival, the minute Christian won veto. That's why I didn't provide a rant yesterday. I thought it would be a bit redundant. Plus, there wasn't enough content in the notes. And from my perspective, I wanted to give you all a fantastic public rant tonight, so here we go. Now, on Monday's episode, the first thing I noticed was Brittany is acting as if Brent was blindsided on Thursday. And I can't help but notice that she is trying to push herself super hard for AFP. I survived next to Brent. It was a blindside, guys. Now, anyone who's in on the inside talk, inside fastball knowledge, we all know that Brent wasn't blindsided. Frazier spoiled it for everyone. And I think Christian also spoiled it for everyone accidentally as well. So I just want to go ahead and filibuster whatever Brittany thought she was doing, trying to pander for AFP there. Then we see Xavier playfully kick Kylan out of the storage room to celebrate the Team King's HOH victory. I thought this was a funny scene. He said, "We're jumping and we're screaming. We're jumping and we're screaming again." I thought it was super funny. If I see something funny, I'm going to try my best to mention it during rants such as these where we have plenty of time to kill. Aza gets credit in the edit rightfully for getting Frazier's head back in the game this week as a have-not. This occurred prior to Aza's big mistake in front of Christian. Claire mentions the royal flush, but specifically calls Derek X her ace up the sleeve in Sunday's episode. Wasn't that the rant's title on Saturday? Look, man, hey, man, I'm flattered, coach. That lets me know they rocking with me this season, you know what I mean? Because I saw them mention ace up the sleeve during Wednesday's episode, too, if you paid attention. All right, now, they could have used a different term, right? But they kept saying the title of the last rant. So I just want to put you on game. I'm noticing these things too. You feel it, dig me? All right? But anyway, they clowned Aza in the edit during Monday night's episode. Well, actually, this wasn't Monday. This was Sunday. My apologies. They clowned Aza during the wild card competition. They made her look terrible, like she was throwing the comp. Ladies and gentlemen, this was on my mind. You know, Aza makes it seem as if the jokers are the beating horse, the whipping boy, if you will, the easy to pick on group. She makes it seem like they're the ones everyone just goes, oh, we need a pawn, pick a joker. What are they going to do? So, from my perspective, I'm walking into this wild card comp expecting Aza to perform to the highest of her capabilities. Absolutely. And what I saw from her was literally her just staring at a ball, and she never moved it down the damn ramp. I'm like, Aza, what are you doing, coach? Now, hey, if this is part of a long con to make yourself seem like you can't be a threat because you're this bad at this type of a comp, okay. But at the end of the day, if you can't prove yourself to step up in competitions and you're already proving yourself to be strategically and socially inept, you're really proving to this house why it's okay for them to send you to the shadow realm. You got to prove yourself to be an asset. Now, later in this week, ladies and gentlemen, through the feed's notes, I am going to give Aza credit for an idea and a plan that she implemented. Understand, this won't be just me bashing her. Certain people might take it that way. This won't be just me holding her accountable. So it's going to be some of the negative and some of the positive here. But it's important for us to get to the positive because there's a lot of negative here to talk about. All right, so Aza didn't want jokers used as pawns again. If she didn't want them to be punching bags, why didn't she try to win this wild card to keep them all safe? That was very bizarre. And when you take into account that she completely choked by telling Christian and Alyssa she would have thrown them up because she doesn't have much of a relationship with them, then this is a compounded mistake. Because if she would have competed hard in the wild card, that's one thing, and made a mistake. But for you to compete like trash and not get thrown up, it felt like Christian and Alyssa felt bad for you, so they let you off the hook for playing poorly. That's what it feels like to me. In a lot of ways, Aza should thank the lucky stars she never touched this block this week, because I said this in the last rant. It was an epic choke for Christian to ever consider throwing up Whitney before an Aza. Even Aza should have went up before Hannah, in my opinion. Her game is now more confusing after seeing this comp. And when you compound her mistake later, she is one of the luckiest players to not be nominated I've ever seen. Now, that was my takeaway from Sunday's episode. Now, let's get to Wednesday. During the episode after Christian's 6 backflip burpees, try to say that 7 times without stuttering, huh? Aza owns up to wanting Whitney out over Xavier. This happened while they subtly showed Whitney rubbing lotion on Xavier's legs. This is what I've been trying to tell y'all, ain't it? Her motivation for wanting Whitney out for the longest has been about Xavier. I had people trying to tell me, oh, Dave, your read on Aza's wrong. She really wants Whitney gone because she's a legitimate threat. But then when I was the guy during Xavier's HOH week who brought up Aza's gaslighting tactics towards X to get him to burn a bridge prematurely with Whitney by throwing her up next to Brent, I still had Aza fans defending that. So understand here, Aza is perfectly fine with Xavier ruining his game for some consolation prize of he gave me more attention this week because there's one less girl for him to look at than me. You know, no disrespect, but if you gotta wipe out every single attractive woman in the house so Xavier is forced to look at you, that's sad to me. Aza, you were the lady who came into this house saying you would under no circumstance want a showmance. Well, then why is your strategy being self-motivated by wanting a showmance? See, on the feed, she'll tell us, oh, she doesn't want to do anything in this house with anyone. But the way she got so mad over this girl putting some lotion on that man's legs, it's like, look, you ain't got to sit right next to her do it. You're subjecting yourself to this. And what's worse is, you don't even see how stalkerish you look and how obsessed you look in the edit while doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really have the ovaries to go and rub Xavier's feet yourself because you think you too good. Oh, he need to work for me. But then you also want to get rid of all of the competition so he has no choice but to settle for you. So are you this prize or not? See, that's the problem here. She's sending mixed signals. She wants Xavier to settle for her as if she isn't the prize, and she's unwilling to compete with these non-black women to prove she is more valuable than them. This is a problem. And see, from a strategic standpoint, there's a reason why Xavier doesn't have no final 3, final 2 with Aza. It's because from his perspective, he doesn't see a route or a path to drag Aza that far, because there isn't that many people in this house who will want her who actually believes she will deserve to make it that far, for starters. Now, this is what I've been telling y'all is her motivation for all of this, and she confirmed it. This now vindicates everything I've said even further, but it's a terrible look for Aza because from a viewer's perspective, she has done nothing to earn Xavier's attention within the game. All she's done is be black and exist. I'd argue this was the same thing with David Alexander, but we don't got to go there because people act like, well, David Alexander wasn't a good game player, so he deserved that smoke. But Xavier gets treated in a similar fashion. Women can agree he is by far a better player than David Alexander, but they still tend to take Aza's side in this situation just because there happens to be a white girl applying lotion to Xavier's legs. We got to do better as a community. We got to do better. But anyway, for Aza to acknowledge she wants Whitney out the game over a guy who isn't choosing on her just further reveals a spotlight on why all the women are after each other now, and the men are sitting pretty good. Besides maybe Christian for doing the backflip burpees and winning Triple Crown in 4 weeks, all the women have an agenda. Tiff and Hannah would want SB and Brittany gone after Whitney. Aza doesn't seem to have a plan after Whitney. Well, now it seems like Aza wants Alyssa gone, so let me correct that. Alyssa wants Hannah out after Whitney, honestly. The only woman that isn't after a woman next week is possibly Brittany. Everyone else wants a girl gone for how they want the jury to be. Hence why Aza wants Whitney gone so bad during this foot massage that simulates coitus. Aza is seeing what she doesn't want popping off in that jury house, like I said. See, I tried to tell y'all this was the crux of this. This is why she wanted to make sure Whitney never made jury. Because her biggest fear was having to see Xavier and Whitney bound chicka wow wow all over that jury house, and she would have no say in it. It's not a game anymore. Your opinion doesn't matter. We gon' get it cracking. She couldn't bear that. So now she's hoping, okay, now if I can get rid of Alyssa next, make sure she doesn't make jury. Another girl that Xavier prefers over me. Do you get it? Are you following now? See, there are people acting like production did Aza grimy. Aza gave production the softball to make her look that way. Aza owned it and said, I know I'm petty. Aza talked like she should be applauded for this. This is Davon's impact on the game. But let's keep it moving. I got to go in tonight. Because people need to see the truth, coach. Tell the truth. All right? So like I said, everyone else wants a girl gone for how they want the jury to be. Hence why Aza wants Whitney gone so bad. Aza confessed to being petty. She also confessed to the middle school crush of Xavier and wanting to play in the veto to seal Whitney's fate as being connected to it by the edit. Then we see Aza moonwalk and slip into some water jugs. Oh, that's when I knew, see, Aza, now you're the clown of the show. See, Brent's gone. You hated Brent so much, but he was the goofball as long as he was around. You feel it, dig me? Now we're running out of people to clown. As we start to lose more and more non-black people, Aza, you're the main person this edit is going to start to clown because everyone else has earned their slot in jury, but you. Well, okay, you can argue Frazier hasn't. Okay, I'm going to be fair there. But that's the Joker's problem. That's not the Cookout's problem. The Cookout's been carrying y'all. You feel it, dig me? Y'all averaging them Skip Bayless numbers. 2 points a game. You feel it, dig me? Y'all lucky y'all got St. Vincent St. Mary's LeBron James on your team. You feel it, dig me? They can still take you to the state title, but we still need y'all to knock down some free throws, contribute. You feel me? But once again, Aza's going to come up with a plan to contribute later. I don't want y'all thinking that I'm not going to give her the credit she's due as well. But I'd argue the plan she came up with was fairly self-explanatory because Tiffany came up with a much more convoluted and confusing strategy that she had to explain to Aza. Aza was actually being quite combative to Tiffany when Tiffany first came up with it, but then in confessional this week, Aza tries to give Tiffany credit as if she was down with the plan all along. So I'm just saying all this to say, Aza's habitual line stepping. But let's continue. It's a shame when your game can't do any of the talking for you in the edit, so they just show you as a joke. During the veto pick ceremony, Sarah Beth really went out of her way to mention how she hasn't competed for veto yet. This was stupid for Sarah Beth to do for several reasons. First of all, she is showing how badly she wants Hannah out by choosing this veto pick ceremony to say this. You didn't say this the last 3 veto pick ceremonies, so why are you saying it now, coach? You want Hannah gone that bad? That's number one. Secondly, she is showing Zhao how little she trusts him because Hannah just picked Zhao for the veto. And third, she is showing Tiffany a path to getting her out. Sarah Beth, what are you doing? What are you doing, Dr. Bones? And right after this, Tiffany solidified the final two with Hannah and forewarned her about SB being so thirsty at that same ceremony, proving SB is even making mistakes off the feeds. And now this adds way more context to why Tiffany and Hannah both want SB out next week, if possible. But then SB says it's her secret in the diary room that she secretly wants Whitney to win veto. That's like the worst kept secret we've ever heard. You feel it, Davey? That's about as good kept a secret as Area 51. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Huh? Oh, it's just my little secret. I want Whitney to stay. No, duh. You fought so hard to target Hannah. You pissed off damn near half of your alliance to do it. And now you're shocked? Well, no, not even you're shocked. You think it's actually a secret? You would prefer Whitney to stay? Even Kylan knows you would prefer Whitney to stay. That's why, Kylan, salute to you, because I was kind of confused. I didn't know if Kylan was playing Tiffany and Claire, or if he was playing Sarah Beth. Now we know he is all out with the cookout, and he is playing Sarah Beth. But on these feeds, it did feel like Kylan was hedging, just in case Sarah Beth won HOH, he can keep moving. You know what I'm saying? But anyway. So Sarah Beth mentioned that secret, but it's not a secret. Of course, everyone knows what she wanted Whitney to stay. This proves SB's read on how she is currently being perceived is very off, meaning she will in all likelihood feel blindsided if she is thrown up by anyone not named Hannah. Hence why it's only Hannah who can do it. More reason why Tiffany and Xavier are willing to throw this HOH to Hannah. Then we see Christian win veto before Zhao slips up and talks about next week as if Whitney going home was a foregone conclusion. This probably was Zhao's one mistake all week. This caused Whitney to blow it out of proportion because she was already butthurt about Derek Zhao doing her like she did Brendan Frenchie. But see, that's my biggest problem, Whitney. She blames Kylan and DX so much for her downfall in the game, and she takes no responsibility for her own untrustworthiness. Was Zhao wrong for saying that? Yes. But Whitney also said the egg roll comment about Zhao this week, and that didn't even make it on TV. So I personally feel like production let Whitney off easy when all things are considered. I mean, I was expecting Julie to apply some pressure on her for the egg roll comment. Julie let shit rock. You know what I mean? She let it ride. But, such poor taste. She should count her blessings. If anything, Derek Zhao owed her that shade. DX shouldn't stress it. I'm happy Kylan had his back this week as well. Now, the episode makes it seem like DX was the likely replacement nom of Christians. That's a complete lie, ladies and gentlemen. DX was never going to be thrown up this week by Christian, even with Whitney fighting so hard to get revenge on DX. That was never going to happen. Same reason why Kylan was never going to go up, and that was never going to happen. Christian always prioritized a woman going home this week. If anything, it would have been Aza thrown up before a DX. I personally believe the deal that Christian made with Jokers is a placebo effect deal. I don't believe if Alyssa wins HOH next week, she's going to stay true to that deal. I think Sarah Beth might. That's just because Sarah Beth is so threatened by Zhao and Hannah because they're close to Kylan, right? So if I'm going to hold Aza accountable for her feeling some type of way about guys getting closer to other people, I got to hold Sarah Beth accountable the same way. But the difference is Sarah Beth knows how to be classy in the edit and not hand production these easy little sound bites for them to make her look like a buffoon. And that's what I expect more from out of Aza. Aza, you are a digital sales marketing executive or something like that, coach. I'm expecting you to know how to phrase your words carefully, especially when you're someone who doesn't like lying within the house. You would think you would be very careful to say things a specific way in the confessional. The fact that Aza is willing to be this edgy, petty player when in the house she's this Bible-toting, I don't think lies are cool. It's so weird. And it's contradictory, right? If you're going to be the petty person, you need to be the one playing as hard as you can. Aza, this week is really the first move you can take credit for. You know what I mean? But I digress. Now, the reason for that being, no one believes Jokers will win the next HOH, okay? So at the end of the day, I want you all to understand, Christian made a deal with Jokers saying, hey, if I don't throw y'all up, don't come for me next week. But the only reason why he kept jokers off the block was because he felt like, okay, to not piss off three people makes more sense than to just piss off three people when one of them is guaranteed to go if I throw up two aces. But you have to think about this for a second, Christian. Jokers have not shown the propensity or the ability yet to win a competition. So that deal probably won't be held up because they won't win this endurance comp HOH to keep the deal with you. Isn't this the same deal in theory that Kylan offered to Brittany? Brittany said, okay, if I win HOH next week, I won't come for you. But Brittany had her mind made up that she would throw the next HOH because she didn't want to be in that position. And she ended up being used as a pawn again with Xavier won it, and she kind of regretted it for a second. But my point is, it's a very similar situation here. Any deal you cut with jokers, take with a grain of salt because odds are they don't have the confidence or the wherewithal to win a comp to fulfill the deal. So really, the deal it's really a waste of time. It really is, in my opinion, okay? So yeah, so Aza really ended the episode saying, I'm petty. I want Xavier to myself. I'm human. What does that even mean? I'm petty. I want Xavier to myself. I'm human. Oh, we know you're a human being. You're playing Big Brother, coach. What was the point of adding that part, huh? Please don't tell me Aza's going to claim mental health awareness as the reason for her game being trash. But that's neither here nor there. Now let's get into tonight's episode, coach. Let's celebrate the first thing. First off, let's go ahead and say our eulogies for the team, Twist. Huh? Let's pour the proverbial alcohol, the 40 ounce on the ground. It's over. I'm so happy it's over because Zhao and Hannah were sitting ducks being the only team left with only two people. And now with the game being fully individual, now you can argue Claire taking that twist to have safety this week. She should be able to get a pretty good scope and read on the terrain. I expect a lot of players to play completely different now that this is de facto individual. Understand, Xavier had no choice. His hands were tied a lot with a lot of the decisions he was trying to make this week because he was still part of the team twist. Now that he knows that even if Alyssa or Sarah Beth win HOH, he isn't necessarily safe, Xavier has all the motivation in the world, in my opinion, to compete for this HOH if Hannah falls. If Hannah falls, if Tiffany falls, I think Xavier has to work towards winning this himself. Now, here's the problem, though. For Xavier's game, for Tiffany's game, the only person they can go after is Brittany. If they go after anyone else, they're pissing off Cookout or they're pissing off Royal Flush. So for Xavier and Tiffany's game, Brittany is the only person now that Whitney's gone they can go after. And of course, they would need a pawn. Now, they have already discussed that the most likely pawn you would have to throw up next to Brittany would have to be Aza because that's her friend. That's the best way to safeguard and cover up the Cookout's existence. Now, Aza agreed to this plan on feeds, and she agreed to it in confessional tonight. But if Aza throws a stink over being thrown up on the block next to Brittany somehow, in some random world where, well, I don't think we'll have wild card anymore, so we shouldn't have to deal with limited nomination choices anymore. But I'm just saying, I hope we don't see Aza throw a fit later down the road if she's thrown up on the block next to Brittany. I expect it to happen, though. That's just who the jokers are at this point. Even if they say, you can do it, they'll get mad. I mean, look at Frenchie. You could throw me up yourself next week, Colin, if you don't like being a pawn so much. 1 week later. He really turned on Slaughterhouse by throwing me up. So, at the end of the day, it's something in that air in the back bedroom. Now, granted, they ain't in the back bedroom this week. They have not. But it's something in the damn oats of the dang... of the dang slop, because it feels like this team they're so inconsistent with their emotions, which is very rich because I'm hearing people trying to talk about Hannah being too emotional, and it's like, Zhao, how is Hannah too emotional? You hang out with Aza all the time, but maybe he hasn't seen the real Aza yet. That's a question to be answered later. Now, Aza actually gave Tiffany credit for her amazing plan in the diary room despite debating her on it at the time. That's a good sign. Then we see Tiffany say good morning to Kai, X, and SB, but only Kai greeted her like Tiffany said on feeds. Now, here's the thing. I didn't see this scene on feeds, but I saw Tiffany explain this scene to Hannah and... Was it Hannah and Claire or just Hannah? It probably was just Hannah. This may have been during Hannah's one-on-ones on Wednesday. But I remember Tiffany explaining this scenario. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, Tiffany, you a mastermind. You coming up with stuff now just to paint that target bigger on SB. But SB was really dumb enough to do what she did. We actually saw it tonight. Tiffany walks up in the morning. She hugs Kai, says good morning. In production, even shows Sarah Beth with shades on, look dead at Tiffany, look away. SB, come on, yo. Even if you might feel a certain type of way about not getting your way this week, you can't show Tiffany you that hot bothered. You're bothered. Now Tiffany knows you're ready for the slaughter. You feel it, dig me? You were better off being super cool, calm, and collected. Because it may have made Tiffany more okay with Brittany going before you. But the fact that you got Kylan out here trying to cop please right after this damn scene. And Kylan, I got to be honest, bro, you made a mistake here in my opinion. You don't go to Tiffany and try to smooth over what SB just did, which we all know was foul. You go to SB, you G-check her, and you tell her to go to Tiffany and talk that out. But my thing is, it feels like SB don't want to be in a room alone with Tiffany too long. It feels like that psychological play or the psychological combativeness between them makes Sarah Beth just want to avoid that altogether. Sarah Beth knows who the Oracle is. She knows it. She knows Queen of Tippy Toes can and will send her to the Shadow Realm. She also knows she was way too damn vocal about wanting Hannah out. Tiffany specifically took it personal that she wanted Hannah gone so bad because Tiffany said it felt like Sarah was talking directly to her. Because Sarah ain't gonna talk to Kylan like that when they alone. So it feels like you only talking this way because Tiffany in the room. So you gave Tiffany more of a reason to view you as an op. You feel me? In my opinion, Kylan and SB, okay, a lot of this has to do with how messy they were a week ago. Because that started this spiral of Tiffany coming up with this plan to screw over. At first, she was trying to screw over just Kai. Then she segued to want to screw over Xavier to try to have this like sub-alliance just in case. Then she came up with the plan to make sure the cookout can make Final Six. So understand, Tiffany is out here hustling at every turn, right? She has looked through every nook and cranny. She has tried to figure out every single possible pivot path. And this is the best path for her. It feels like to a certain extent, Aza's trying to piggyback off Tiffany looking so good by saying, hey guys, I came up with this plan. Should we follow this heading into next week? When at the end of the day, if you just keep doing what Tiffany's plan was, Aza's plan really is just a reflection of Tiffany's plan. It's just broken down for 1 week, whereas Tiffany's was more of a macro plan. So really, in a sense, you could argue Aza copied off of Tiffany's test paper. She plagiarized her and didn't change the wording of her essay. And now they both might get an F because of it. Now, I'm not saying Tiffany gonna get an F. I think Tiffany gonna pass with flying colors because Tiffany gonna be smart enough not to show her all the answers. But with that said, though, Aza, you gotta get your head in the game. And the one move you will get credit for on these notes, I personally believe you don't even come up with that plan if Tiffany doesn't come up with the far more brilliant one. So that's important to mention. Now, I already mentioned SB looking crazy, so I'm not going to go back there. We then see Aza's plan of wanting to have jokers and queens come together to guarantee a king leaves next week. Essentially, the way this plan works, because I don't believe the episode explained this effectively enough. Aza's plan was, okay, this is what we're going to do. If a joker wins HOH, they nominate a queen as a pawn next to a king. If a queen wins HOH, they nominate a joker next to a king as a pawn. That's the plan. Very simple, okay? But Aza believes she deserves a winner's edit for that. So, hey, we're going to give her a credit. We then see Tiffany tell Aza that Hannah is part of the six, but Aza immediately says she doesn't trust her. Uh-oh, here we go. It's a shame that Aza is so fixated on it being 5 people plus Hannah over just calling it the six. Why must Hannah be on the outs the entire game? Especially if the most pressure is on Hannah to win this endurance comp HOH. Hannah is willing to do what Aza isn't. Aza wants Alyssa out more than SB, despite SB wanting 2 black women out next week. That shows how off code and how blinded Aza is by competing with other women for Xavier's attention. Okay? This is point blank in the period, as the ladies say. This is point blank in the period. Okay? I got to speak in language that certain people understand to get them to see that at the end of the day, SB and Aza are very similar in the sense that they are very insecure over more attractive women gaining the attention of men that they would like that attention from. instead of competing for that man and proving to that man why they are so special, they would rather take the easy way out and get you out of the paint. That way, that man has nothing else to choose from but them. That is beta female mentality, 1,000%. And I've seen Oz on feed say, "Well, Xavier says he wants a woman to be aggressive and come for him and all that, but I don't believe it because I've been quite aggressive." And it's, well, I mean, damn. So because he says one thing in passing, okay, I'm gonna propose to you now. Like, come on, Aza, you gotta chill out, yo. You know. So yeah, so this is just more of an example of how Aza gets down. Next, we see Whitney telling Alyssa about Hannah. Alyssa goes upstairs to Christian and tell him this, and now Christian thinks Hannah doesn't respect her game. Now, we saw a flashback of Hannah essentially telling Whitney, Brent, and I think Zhao, aces. I think she told them that she has these long talks with Christian at night, and she puts ideas in his head because she knows that can kind of fluster him, confuse his game, force him to make a bit of mistakes. Um, Now, Whitney, being desperate, she snitches on Hannah in the moment, believing this can force the flip. Christian even acts like in the edit he can somehow convince his alliance to flip back on wanting Hannah out. But Christian even knew at this point on feeds that there was no way Hannah was leaving. So, at the end of the day, he would have used the veto if he really wanted Whitney to stay that bad. But once again, Christian has to look out for his own personal game. Now, Christian believes that this proves that Hannah doesn't respect his game. But Hannah does respect his game. She just doesn't respect how Christian threw her up to play other women's games. For Christian's game, it made more sense 10 times out of 10 to throw up Aza before Hannah. Jokers ain't winning no endurance comp, but an ace might. And that could be the difference between Alyssa making jury or Sarah Beth. That's how fine these margins are, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Whitney gets voted out 10-0. Seems Flambeau is done with the hinky votes. He knows he'll be blamed from this point further, so he done with that. So good. So it's good on everyone for not throwing a hinky. They don't need a hinky. They need this HOH. Whitney was asked why she was sent home, and she owns her feminist mentality as the reason. I was impressed by this. Julie then asks about her beef with Zhao, and Whitney says that didn't happen just because Christian didn't want a guy to go home. Julie then reveals the royal flush, but asks who was in the alliance. Production then shows the 8-person alliance, and Whitney now sees why she was sent home. Her targets were 2 of the strongest men on this team. Now, I see why certain fans are disappointed in Julie for not revealing the cookout to Whitney, but I think a lot of this is mainly sisters wanting Whitney to see that all these black women are closer to Xavier than Whitney thinks. So it feels like the Aza fans are kind of like hoping production throws Aza a bone. But at the end of the day, look, as long as someone from the cookout wins, I don't care if they don't get their credit during week 4. You know what I mean? I don't really care about that. At the end of the day, Tiffany's getting her credit in the edit, which she deserves. Xavier's getting his credit for playing both sides, which he deserves. Kylan is getting credit as someone willing to sacrifice Sarah Beth for the team, which is good. And Hannah stood tall on that block all week. And I'd argue if Aza was in that same position, Aza would have cracked by now on that block. So, Aza wants to act like Hannah isn't black enough to be part of this cookout alliance. Well, at the end of the day, coach, why don't you volunteer? You want to volunteer to go on the block over Brittany? Why don't you volunteer to go up over Hannah sometime? Let's see how on code you stay. I'm just asking these questions because that's what needs to be asked. Now, Whitney even admits she's impressed by them keeping this alliance a secret. In the goodbye messages, Xavier says he only sent Whitney home because that's what his team wanted. Xavier also didn't close the door on something maybe happening outside for him and Whitney. He said they will be friends for a long time. SB admits to fighting super hard for Whitney, but it didn't work. Then Aza is given the stage to be petty even some more about Xavier towards Whitney, saying she has a crush on him, so Whitney had to go. This was a massive L for Aza, ladies and gentlemen. She comes off as obsessed with a man who could care less. Julie then reveals the team twist is no more before the endurance comp begins. Now everyone besides Claire is super motivated more than ever. The Endurance HOH is the legendary wall comp, and I'm super excited. So now let's get into the feeds talk. I'm going to break this down. Hopefully by the time I'm done, we will have the results of this endurance competition, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds good? Let's get it cracking. Now, we're going to start off on Monday. I took some notes from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I missed feeds earlier today, so please forgive me for that. But I believe the majority of the notes I took centered around specific players who I believe will be gunning hard for this HOH. I don't believe that many people actually want to win this HOH, especially since this is the beginning of the individual game. A lot of people will believe the bonds that they have created up to this point have been good enough to where they don't need to win it. Someone like Kylan, I don't think he tries to win this because the only person he could take out is Brittany for his game. Same thing goes for Tiffany. Same thing goes for Xavier. So those three, I expect to throw this. Hence why it's so important for Hannah to win it, because if a Joker wins it, Aza has already spoken to existence. She's worried about not keeping this deal with Christian. Now, she still wants to go after Alyssa, because once again, Alyssa is close to Xavier and yada, yada, yada. But I feel like Aza should not care about that deal anymore. The team twist is scrapped, meaning every deal that was offered to teams should be scrapped. Meaning, and here's the thing, I don't expect Aza to win this HOH. I don't expect any Joker to win HOH. Did you see Flambeau in the first few minutes on that damn wall? He not winning this. Okay, coach? Let's just keep it a bean tonight. And Aza is way too bruised up from the veto competition earlier in this week to do well during this endurance comp, in my opinion. And I think Aza's a bit too tall to do well in this comp. Let's not forget, the majority of people who do well in this comp are shorter individuals because their center of gravity is a lot lower. Therefore, when they get these harsh angles that they have to hold on the wall comps, their lower backs have to suffer less trauma, less of a culture shock, because their bodies are a lot smaller. Their frames are smaller, meaning there's a lot less weight being put on that very sensitive area of the lower back. And then, of course, that allows their arms to keep from being burnt out as well, you know. And I'd argue the lactic acid buildup for people who are really swole makes it a lot harder for them to win these type of comps as well. Now, around 1:50 p.m. on Monday, Hannah is talking game with Tiffany. Hannah is clearly becoming adept at studying days based on several conversations this week. And for a fourth week in the game, I've never seen these many people talk about studying dates in my life this early. These people came to win. All right. Now, Hannah has already figured out everyone who, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, please do not forget to hit that like button for the kid. All right. I just want to say that real quick before we get real into the deep dive. Now, Hannah has already figured out everyone who has played in 2 veto comps has played in at least 7. Between Hannah and Claire, Tiffany should have her dates memorized by the late game if she survives. Hannah and Tiffany seem focused on taking Sarah Beth out before jury more than anyone else. But with the team twist, it complicates the game based off prior loyalties. But once the game fully becomes individual, which it did tonight, they need to worry about surviving versus these other people who have shields. Now, Tiffany thinks if Sarah Beth makes it to jury, she will be offered some overpowered twist, and that will ruin the cookout. I swear, there are moments where Tiffany, she taps into her inner Frenchie just to get some shit popping. She gonna get a twist, coach. You feel it, dig me? They're gonna reward her. She looks like an all-American girl. You know? Like the phrases she comes up with to get people on side, it's hilarious to me. Now, it feels like because Claire was gifted that twist before everyone else, there is some paranoia in the house. Tiffany sees that Sarah Beth owes nobody loyalty heading in a jury, and that's what makes her so dangerous. Hannah wants to discuss more game with Tiffany and Zhao so they could discuss more as a duo, but Zhao has began to distance himself from Hannah just in case someone else from Kings wins HOH next week. Keep in mind, Hannah does not know about the Royal Flush's existence. Zhao is aware that Aces will be down to only 2 players next week. He also knows being perceived as a duo with Hannah helps her game more than his. Oh, Zhao, you're smart. And Zhao also has Claire snowed. Claire doesn't know Zhao's a real fan. She actually still buys that he's not a real fan of the game. Zhao, you are missing the hardest players to miss. That tells me a lot about how good you're playing, coach. Keep it up. So it makes sense to me Zhao isn't all in with Hannah at this stage of the game. Zhao also doesn't want to take the shot at Sarah Beth for his game because it could compromise him with Kylan. Now, Kylan, he went to Zhao and he went to Tiffany and said, "You have my blessing to take SB out." But Zhao ain't trying to take that shot. He ain't trying to ruin nothing. He got good with Kai. He used a veto on him, and life been good ever since. He don't want no problems, right? And that's why it's on Hannah, in my opinion, to take SB out, because only Hannah has the game reason to go after SB. Everybody else is going to feel like a reach, especially the Jokers, because SB is often with the Jokers a lot. If any of them go for her, it's going to look weird. And then it's going to lead to probably more people connecting dots. The cookout got to be working together. Hence why this endurance comp is a lot of pressures on Hannah here because there are certain things jokers can't do. Jokers can't take out Brittany. So that would mean jokers would have to take out Alyssa or Sarah Beth. They're too close to Sarah Beth, so the only target for jokers realistically is Alyssa. Now, Frazier, based off of some things on feeds, it sounds like he even wants Hannah to take out SB. So that shows me Frazier's playing his own game. He's not necessarily playing a joker's game, and that was before the team twist was lifted. That's a good sign for Frazier's long-term win cons. But of course, he's got to start winning some stuff too. But it's important to give credit where it's due. Now, Hannah goes to get Zhao. Oh, okay. I forgot to say this part. The only target Zhao seems to be willing to go after is Christian during jury. I don't expect him to gun for this HOH. Hannah goes to get Zhao, and they both return to Tiffany around 10 minutes later. Tiffany begins the talk, mentioning how she sworn them to secrecy, and then they passed her test by not discussing what she tells to them individually with each other. So now Tiffany is essentially she's trying to help Hannah out with Zhao by giving Zhao permission to talk about more stuff she discusses with him with Hannah. But the thing is, Hannah isn't incorporated in the Royal Flush. So for Zhao, he doesn't want to make the mistake he made week one by saying too much to too many people. So he's keeping his mouth shut. Now to Hannah, she may feel like Zhao's not all in with me. But at the end of the day, Zhao's just being careful. Zhao has learned from his mistakes. So that needs to be said as well. It's not about Zhao turning on Hannah. It's about Zhao being careful because he does like Hannah. He's just not dumb enough to have his game be ruined for Hannah. You know what I mean? And I respect a man who is respectful towards women in the game but doesn't allow them to manipulate his powers. That's why I gave Kylan credit week 1. Week 2. That's why I gave Xavier credit week 3. Okay? That's important to be said. And to a certain extent, I got to give Christian credit this week. Because if he would have done exactly what Alyssa and Sarah Beth wanted, in my opinion, it's Aza and Hannah on the block, and someone black goes home. Essentially, Tiffany is trying to help Hannah gain more trust from Zhao here. Tiffany mentions valuable information about Xavier authorizing the hit on Dr. Bones, how nobody knows X is in on wanting a Kings player out but Tiffany, Hannah, and Zhao now. How they need to make sure Kylan doesn't win the next HOH because all he would do is protect SB with it. Zhao says he just spoke to Kai about HOH and possible targets for next week. Based on this conversation, Zhao either wants Tiffany and Hannah to think he doesn't know Kai is close to Sarah Beth, or he honestly didn't know they were that close. But after what Tiffany did a week ago, it's hard to convince me of the latter. For Zhao to act as if around Claire, Hannah, and Tiffany that he didn't know Sarah Beth was that close to Kai, when just a week ago, Tiffany sprung a whole bunch of gameplay into Fast Forward, which involved Whitney, Zhao, and Hannah trying to get them to flip on Xavier under the premise that he could be in too deep with Kings and all this other stuff. But it all came back around to Kai is too close to Sarah Beth. For Zhao in this moment to act like he selectively forgot they were close, I feel like this was Zhao purposely trying to withhold information because he didn't know what he could share in front of Tiffany and in front of those other women. Zhao really respects what Tiffany tells him. He's really a closed vault when it comes to their talks. That's why I like this duo so much, And that's why I'm rooting for them, if they can, to make Final Four with Kylan, if possible. But it feels like Zhao, based off feeds, it feels like he would prefer to go to Final Four with Claire than Hannah. In my opinion, that's what I'm reading. But let's continue. This means Zhao is purposely playing dumb to cover for Kylan in front of Tiffany and Hannah. He's not allowing Tiffany or Hannah to control his game, and while that is commendable, I personally believe it's good for Zhao that Sarah Beth isn't in jury as well. Dr. Bones has mentioned DX countless times as a threat to her game because of how close he seems to be to Kylan. So you could argue Tiffany made a mistake by mentioning Xavier turning on Kings this early because it didn't get the reaction she wanted, and that amount of information could make Zhao believe a Black Alliance exists. Even if the move was sound gameplay, because Xavier shouldn't want Sarah Beth gone more than Kylan if there isn't something else going on. That's important to remember as well. Now, Claire comes in, and by the way, Claire is starting to catch on to what's going on as well. I believe Brittany's eavesdropping on conversations, and she's catching on as well. I think DX has been knowing what's going on, but he's smart. You feel what I'm digging me? So we got all these players who see what's going on, but are too smart to say they see it. And you got SB who's too dumb to shut up. You see the difference here? Now, Claire comes in the coral room after investigating the house guests on who killed a moth. I'm not making this up. Then Tiffany brings her up to speed on how she wants DX and Hannah both focused on targeting SB to free up Kylan's game for jury heading into next week. If you remember, earlier in the week, Hannah and Tiffany came to a conclusion that Kai on the block next to SB may be the only way to guarantee she leaves because Kai may take her off if he wins veto. Now, Zhao shoots this plan down wisely to nominate Kai by saying all you have to do is throw up another joker like Brittany next to her. Claire shows how much of a mastermind she is by mentioning how keeping Brittany off the block and throwing up a different joker next to SB could expose Brittany's loyalty to Sarah Beth over the jokers. Do you see how Claire thinks? This girl's dangerous. Pay attention. Hannah, of course, shoots this plan down because of the cookout, but this is just another example of how Claire is starting to figure things out. If she is thinking this way about Brittany, I can only imagine what ideas Claire would implement as HOH to put the cookout in compromising positions. Zhao asks, why does Brittany have to go up next to SB? Tiffany tells him because they are also becoming too close. How they spend a lot of time together that goes unnoticed. To be fair, I don't think SB is technically that close to Brittany, but she was in that back bedroom with jokers more than Tiffany, so you have to understand, the same way SB is threatened by Hannah, Tiffany should be threatened by SB's relationship to jokers, who are the one team Tiffany doesn't really get along with in the house. Making this endurance comp even more pivotal, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Tiffany mentions how Aza and Brittany are close to SB. Claire then brings up a valuable point, how jokers are only close to SB because that was Frenchie's dying wish in the game. That's true. I remember this because it was when he also convinced jokers to work with Claire and Tiffany. That was the same day Tiffany got mad at Flambeau for not owning up to being part of Slaughterhouse. Remember, I documented that. So once again, this is a solid read from Claire, who pays attention to every small detail at her disposal. Zhao thinks because Sarah Beth wasn't in Slaughterhouse, she couldn't be that close to Frenchie. To be fair, Zhao's read of Sarah Beth is the best out of anyone here because she wasn't really close to Frenchie at all. Frenchie just portrayed it as them being cool. Sarah Beth always clowned Frenchie behind his back. She infamously said he stumbled into good moves by playing poorly. Her loyalty was always to who Frenchie was jealous of, Kylan. So there is no way she was ever that close to him. It was only after SB won Wildcard that Frenchie started really telling her game information. This is the same mistake he made with Zhao until he won veto during week 1. I'm documenting this to show jokers are still playing like Frenchie's disciples, and their victimhood of believing they were punching bags made them befriend Sarah Beth just because Frenchie wanted them to, not because they chose to. Tiffany even mentions in this conversation, if you diss Frenchie, the rest of Team Jokers won't let it go for a day. Now, Zhao asks what Brittany and SB specifically do together, because he's trying to triangulate how close they are. Tiffany mentions the Big Blue Couch song they made, which Hannah and Aza performed. I mean, I thought Hannah and Aza, it was a Grammy-esque performance. To be honest, Aza's best performances, in terms of her best gameplay, is her social gameplay at night when the house lets their hair down and just has fun. That's when Aza is really cool, really likable. But her problem is, she needed a lot of people to leave this house to be this person. Now, once again, if I'm not going to knock Godfrey for taking a nap for 4 weeks, I'm not going to necessarily bash Aza incessantly for the same thing. But my point is, I just wanted to see more of this earlier in the game. That's all I'm saying, and I think a lot of people feel the way I feel, Now, Tiffany begins to mention how Brittany and SB take naps together and are around each other very often if you pay attention. I personally feel Brittany is closer to SB than Alyssa simply because she has an obvious crush on Christian. This crush makes her more likely to work closely with SB out of all the kings because X threw her up and the other two are always together. Now, I personally believe Brittany just wants Christian to herself, but that's neither here nor there. Zhao is without a doubt most concerned with crossing Kai too early by taking out SB. Claire asks what the plan is if Kai asks them what they are doing. Tiffany says to lie and say they are after the showmans even though it's SB. Zhao wisely recenters this conversation back to logic again because Zhao knows lying to Kai's face is just going to do more damage than it's worth, especially if you're just going to go after SB anyway. Why even lie to the guy? That's not what you want to do with someone as dangerous as Kylan, the Killmonger. You don't want to lie to his face like that. Claire agrees with Zhao over Tiffany. Tiffany needs to be careful. Her anti-Sarah Beth agenda could damage her game as much as SB's anti-Hannah agenda hurt hers earlier in this week. Now, Zhao is worried Kai could flip and work with the showmance if this happens. Tiffany believing Kai will have nowhere to go but to their four because the showmance wants Kai out as well. And when you add the factor of Hannah and Tiffany saying they wouldn't mind DX and Claire, they wouldn't mind DX and Kylan in their final four, it's safe to say Claire isn't in any of these other threes' late game plans. Zhao might be the most likely to take Claire to final two out of this group. And that's pretty crazy. If I would have told people that 2 weeks ago, they wouldn't have believed me. Now, Zhao thinks Kai, Xavier, Christian, and Alyssa could all flip on Royal Flush if SB is taken out pre-jury. Tiffany says they would have the Jokers, but then Zhao shoots that down by saying they can't win any comps. See, Zhao sees what I see. How are we gonna flip on these strong players to work with jokers against them when we can't depend on jokers to hold their end of the bargain? We're gonna be the ones that all these strong people go after because we flipped. Jokers is gonna be the ones dragged further than us just because they're not doing anything still and they're not a threat still. See, Zhao is keeping Tiffany. I think they're so healthy for each other in this game. Sometimes Zhao needs Tiffany's coaching. Sometimes Tiffany just needs Zhao's logic, right? Now, she also has Claire for this, but I feel like there are certain things even Claire will withhold from Tiffany because she's seeing Tiffany's playing a superior game. But in Zhao's case, he sees that Tiffany helped get him out of such a rut, so he owes her, well, he doesn't owe her, but he feels like their connection is deeper than most of these other ones, and because of that, Zhao is not afraid to even challenge Tiffany on some of her ideas. And I'd argue this is what Tiffany always wanted from Aza. She just wanted a respectful debate on strategy. Problem is, Aza cannot explain or eloquate her thoughts half the time. She's just mad. Hence why we're here. Now, Tiffany is Zhao is showing himself to be a true leader in this meeting. Tiffany is throwing out tons of suggestions that just make Kai want to go after them before her if this happens. Keep in mind, Tiffany ain't trying to go after SB herself, and that's the thing. See, you can tell Zhao, oh, you and Hannah can now discuss more things that I talk with just you two. You can now discuss it amongst yourself. Trust each other more, because I want you all. Zhao, I want you to take out Christian. Hannah, I want you to take out SB. So I can have Brittany to myself. A smart player is going to start to see, okay, you're setting us up to be big targets over you. Zhao is wise enough not to drink all the Kool-Aid. I think Hannah needs to be wise enough to also not to drink all the Kool-Aid, but for this week, being on the block, she has to be reliant on Tiffany. She has to. So I'm going to give Hannah a pass for this week. She didn't have a choice. So this meeting is all about trying to convince DX and Hannah to do something that could ruin their relationship with Kylan. And when Zhao has done so much to get in this good of a position by working with Kai, it doesn't make sense for him to take out SB as much as it doesn't make sense for Tiffany herself to do it. Claire with his safety will never gun for HOH either, so realistically speaking, Hannah becoming HOH is the only way Sarah Beth goes home next week. Zhao doesn't want a scenario to happen where 3 out of the 4 strongest men are all on one side. That would leave Zhao as the odd man out and perceived biggest threat to the other 3. He'd rather go along to get along than not make jury himself. Hannah tries to get Zhao to believe it will never be 3 versus 1 because Xavier is with their plan, but put yourself in Zhao's shoes. Would you take that unnecessary risk when Xavier isn't telling you this himself? I wouldn't. And this is more of an example of the growth of Derek Zhao. Pay attention. If Tiffany and Hannah want Zhao on board with this, they need Xavier to say it himself to make it more believable. Problem is, nobody wants to make concrete deals before the next HOH gets crowned. Hence why Game Talk has been so static this week compared to other weeks. This week is the calm before the Infinity War. Everyone knows lines are about to be drawn, and nobody wants to be responsible for how they got drawn. Sarah Beth then awkwardly walks in on this group of 4, throwing off their conversation completely as they segue to discussing laundry. Sarah Beth actually came in with clean clothes, that's why they did that. Hannah ends up getting up and helps SB fold the clothes to throw her off the scent, and they begin to discuss a whole bunch of non-game related stuff. Christian and Alyssa are planting seeds all around the house that Kylan is a memory comp threat. Alyssa planted seeds with Aza earlier on Monday, and then a couple hours later with Christian, the couple continued to talk with Claire. Claire figured out Kylan purposely gets dates wrong around certain people to throw them off. Seems like Claire is getting closer to this showman's. For her game, this makes perfect sense. Aza and Alyssa both believe the next HOH comp won't be Endurance. They were wrong, weren't they? When Aza talks to Xavier, they continue to discuss dates. Apparently, not the dates Aza wants. Oh, that was a good joke off the dome. I promise I didn't prep that. I didn't read that, coach. I didn't read it. Listen, that joke wrote itself. That joke wrote itself. I literally was like, wait a minute. The way I phrased that, yeah, I gotta go ahead and send one. But anyway, apparently, Aza has begun folding her Bible based on certain comps. Xavier clowns her by saying she finally started playing the game. Don DeMarco? You feel me? Sometimes the truth hurts. Aza claims she's been playing since week 1, but nobody in America believes that. You know what I'm saying? She even said she's no Lisa from BB3. How she won't feel the need to cry anymore this season. How the first couple weeks was tough for her, but she's got her game face on now. She claims she will keep her emotions in check. We'll see about that. Now, here's my thing. If you claim you got your game face on now, why did you tell Christian you would throw him up when he was HOH? You know what I'm saying? Did your game face start on Monday afternoon? I'm just asking questions. Because she ain't come up with this plan until after Monday. I'm just saying. Then Aza somehow uses this conversation to ask if Xavier is attracted to her. Very random. I'm not making this up. This happened. They were outside. And she was like, oh, so you like teasing me. So you're attracted to me, huh? It was just weird. Like, yo, why you forcing this man into these conversations? He's uncomfortable. All right? It's his body, his choice, Aza. Oh, I'm fooling tonight. All right? Now Xavier has to figure out a way to curve her, but keep her from going back into that emotional bag. Xavier says everybody finds Aza attractive. Smart, diplomatic response. I'm not mad at you. Yeah, I feel you, coach. Aza asks specifically what Xavier thinks, though. X then says there are 2 women in this house that are his type and alludes to Aza being one of them. Xavier, man, why you lying? Why you always lying? Oh, my God. You know what I'm saying? We all know the truth, bro. If it's a list and you're checking it twice trying to find out who's naughty and nice, no disrespect, Aza, you not top 2 to that man. We all know it. Now, to be fair, if you would have got that lotion out and did some rubbing, maybe. No, let me stop. But anyway, all right? I ain't trying to stay on this too long. But, okay, so X says there are 2 women in this house that are his type, and he alludes to Aza being one of them. This is Aza trying to apply pressure because X told people he likes women who are aggressive. Pay attention. Also, keep in mind, Whitney has been doing a lot more cuddling with Xavier this week. So Aza seems like she is trying to get closer to X as Whitney leaves. Strategically, this is sound gameplay, even if I think she's playing like Big Brother is Love Island. She on the wrong show or what? That's neither here nor there. It shouldn't matter if Xavier is attracted to you if you aren't here for a showman's. But I digress. X keeps continuity by keeping his red pill on deck. Aza then gives eye contact, and Xavier acts like she is doing too much. Aza then says, what does she need to do? Rub his feet? Implying she needs to thirst trap like Whitney to get his attention. This was a very funny moment on feeds around 3:45 p.m. I highly recommend y'all check this out, okay? Now, here's the thing. I feel like if Xavier was feeling Aza to that high of a degree, this would be such a cute scene to watch. But because this is a woman chasing a man on the Helga Pataki, Hey Arnold side of the game, Aza, you giving us them vibes like you got a shrine in your closet of this man. I gotta keep it funky. This ain't the best look for you, coach. It's not. But anyway, Xavier then asks Aza if she is feeling DX. See, that's what all the dirty Macs do. We try to throw out another guy that you might be into just to get you off us. You feel it, dig me? Hey man, I can help you pull that. You feel it, dig me? I'm taking right now. That's what X was on. What you think about DX though? I can secure the bag for you. But anyway, Aza says he is more her little sister's type than anything else. Then Aza says she wants to get to know Kylan more, but there is no one she likes like Xavier, which makes Xavier smile and blush before saying thank you. It's clear to me Aza has a real shot with X if she plays this slow. I'm going to give her that much. I do think there's a chance she could break down this brother's walls. I do think there's a chance. But you got to play it smarter than this, and you got to be a better game player than this. See, I'm going to keep it real, ladies. For a guy, there's nothing more attractive than seeing a woman handle business and know when to flip on and off the switch. Aza right now is not showing Xavier she's here for the game first, all that other stuff second. The moment she shows that she's a legit game player to be respected, I think he will respect her differently from a romantic standpoint. See, at the end of the day, the majority of these showmances that we hold near and dear, they didn't expect to be in one. And I'm not trying to give Aza fans false hope Xavier gonna end up with her. I'm not trying to do that to y'all. Okay, let me go ahead and provide that disclaimer. But what I am saying is, based off some of the flirting back and forth, I can't say Xavier ain't feeling her at all. I'm a realist, but I do think she too thirsty. You know what I'm saying? So I can admit that and admit that, right? This ain't me with an agenda against her. And no, DX does not need this HOH. I shouldn't be answering questions yet. Let me chill out. Oh, you caught that Helga Pataki line. It's lit in these streets. I know hey, man, unleash me, coach. It's lit. All right, but Aza's game must improve or else she has no shot with X. Xavier calls her a beautiful black goddess in jest, and this makes Aza smile before Xavier goes inside. Aza's social game has improved a lot this week. Now, Tuesday on feed, around 11 a.m. in the morning, Xavier is talking to Cams by himself. He says if he wins HOH next week, his target has to be Brittany because that's all any cookout member within the Royal Flush can do to keep both alliances intact. X also acknowledges the good position he is in with Tiffany and Hannah wanting a final three, Flambeau and Kylan wanting that final three with him, and Christian and Alyssa also wanting the same thing. It's clear to me Xavier sees the game just like Tiffany sees it. Brittany is the biggest threat to Xavier's immediate game because he has deals with everyone else, and Aza is in love with him. So he knows she is never coming after him. For Xavier, taking out Brittany before jury puts jokers in a position where they could be dragged to the end as goats. Who better to possibly drag them there than Xavier, the one person both Aza and Frazier trust the most out of the cookout? In terms of the cookout, Xavier is in the best position, in my opinion. Everybody wants him to tip the scale in their favor. Xavier believes, and he's the one king that no one's talking about targeting after this endurance comp, which says a lot. Xavier believes Christian and Alyssa making jury is best case scenario for him to win the game if he happens to be sitting in final two next to Kylan. But he doesn't view Sarah Beth the same way. He doesn't think she is a vote for him to win at all, telling me Xavier is worried about SB possibly rewarding someone with the win just for being a woman, just like Whitney. This is what Xavier didn't want. This is why he didn't want Whitney making jury, so it makes sense he would fear SB the same way. So Xavier wants Brittany gone if he's HOH, and if he isn't, he wants SB gone to protect Hannah the Huntress. Xavier also mentioned if he happens to be in final two with Kylan, he knows he can beat him as long as SB isn't in the jury. Xavier plans to continue to fly under the radar by maintaining his confidentiality and acting like he is just here for the vibes until final 8. Then he will flip a switch. Hopefully that switch doesn't turn into the Buck Bray King, but that's neither here nor there. I got faith in you, X. I got faith in you. About 10 minutes later, Kylan speaks to Tiffany about a concern he had about what to do next week. He wants to come to a consensus on who is a group they don't want to win HOH. Tiffany, of course, plays the vague route of saying anyone but a king because she doesn't want Kai knowing SB is their target. Now, during this conversation, Kylan owns up to purposely not wanting to help members of Team King study. This was confirmed by Claire when she met up with Christian and Alyssa earlier. The only reason why people are so focused on studying is because some believe endurance won't come because the veto they just did was endurance. So production kind of hit them with a mind warp where they're like, oh, well, the veto was just super tough. No way they give us another tough one right after. And they did. They double tapped on y'all. Claire walks in, and Kylan tells her they have nothing to worry about because Alyssa and Christian are bad at studying. But Kylan putting so much emphasis on the duo studying more than SB studying just further shows people SB leaving benefits them more. Apparently, Tiffany greeted Kai... excuse me. Apparently, Tiffany greeted Kai and SB this morning, but only Kai greeted her back. So actually, this happened on Tuesday. And this is documented in the feed's notes as proof of it. Stuff like this is making Tiffany want SB out even more. It's becoming harder for her to hide her face. Claire and Tiffany eventually realize Kylan is lying because Hannah didn't see him where he said he was during his story about studying with Team Kings. This tells Claire and Tiffany that Kylan could be trying to build something with Xavier and Zhao, possibly a men's alliance. It seems Tiffany is most worried about Xavier selling her out to Kylan, and based off Kylan asking her specific questions regarding a disconnect about who they don't want to win power, it makes sense why Tiffany would begin to be paranoid a bit. But it's not in Xavier's nature to snitch, and right now it behooves him to stay in the middle, not choose a side. This was proven in his cam talk just before this. So now Tiffany is on high alert that Kylan may know she is after SB, and clearly Kai is distancing himself from SB after the veto comp. They don't know who warned Kai, but someone did it. I just think Kai has always had a solid read on people, and he should know SB hurt her own game this week a lot. Who wouldn't distance themselves from SB after she went for Hannah so hard? Who wouldn't distance themselves from SB after she made a scene out of competing and after she created a scene about not competing in veto yet? Kai is wise to not keep talking to SB in that bathroom for hours. Claire and Tiffany both want Hannah to match the campaign of Whitney because she's putting in work in that kitchen. I mean, listen, Whitney was putting her feet in some of that food, all right? They could smell it from the back bedroom. It smelled so good, okay? She was trying her best to culturally appropriate that soul food. Anyway, that probably what pissed off Aza more. Call back. Now, Christian walks in to ask for advice on when to do team meetings, then Claire and Christian leave. Tiffany speaks to Cams and says she's only working with Christian and Alyssa to stay off their radar. She likes Christian a lot. T. Mitch mentions, and also you got to take into account, Tiffany has a son named Christian. I think a lot of the reason why she likes Christian so much is because she has a son with the same name. She would love to see someone with that name make jury. That's just my take on it. I think that's why she has an affinity for Christian. And, and when I find out Christian no longer wears braids because a whole bunch of black people complain to CBS about it, it's like, wow, man. Talk about first world problems, But that's neither here nor there. Now, T. Mitch mentions how the loyalty may not be mutual between her and Kylan, so it's clear to me she doesn't trust their final two deal anymore. Tiffany admits to trusting Hannah to take the final two more than Kylan. She admits to altering the strategy she came in wanting to play because she actually likes a lot of these people. She mentions how her and Aza are like sisters, constantly bickering. Tiffany says she needs to just close her mouth more around Aza, and she hopes telling Aza she wants SB out doesn't come back to hurt Tiffany. Aza wants Hannah out first, out of the six, but that is who Tiffany doesn't want out ever. Aza also wants DX out, so it's like everything Aza wants hurts Tiffany's game. But when you have Aza making a deal with King she never should keep, it makes sense DX and Hannah would be her targets, because Aza won't tell Tiffany she is after Claire. Even Aza isn't that dumb. Now, Tiffany mentions how she really likes Xavier's game. She can't get a read on him being a guy's guy or a player's player. She wants to make sure everybody is willing to take her to final two and doesn't see her as a threat by the end of the game. Alyssa walks in. It appears final five deals are already being cut within Royal Flush because Tiffany wants Alyssa and Christian to work with her and Claire, but they can't decide on the fifth member of this sub-alliance to make a late run with. Tiffany wants to choose Xavier, but her read on him being so blurry makes her hesitant to add him before someone else. Alyssa and Tiffany are both aware Christian may fear facing Xavier in Final Five. Now, Asa wants her and Frazier to reach out to Queens to make a deal, guaranteeing a king goes up next to a pawn, and no matter what, a king replaces whoever comes off. So this is the deal. This is the plan that Aza came up with, ladies and gentlemen. This deal would involve jokers throwing up a queen next to a king, or a queen throwing up a joker next to a king. Aza is finally getting her head in the game by scheming, but why does Aza want to risk her team going up in this deal? This seems to be what Frazier is most confused by as well. If Aza wants Hannah and Zhao gone sooner than later, why doesn't she want another ace thrown up next week? Is this Aza admitting the Joker's players aren't taken seriously enough to ever be sent home over someone else at this point? Or is this her acknowledging the aces are too juicy of targets to be thrown up? I'm not knocking the plan, but it seems like Aza is searching for credit behind a move because she's taken the whole pre-jury phase off. She wants Xavier kept out of the loop on this plan, but Xavier is already trying to get SB out, but Aza doesn't know that. Her plan is working towards the same goal, but she constantly has these ideas she doesn't follow up on when pressure sets in on Thursday nights. I expect more of the same to come from Aza during this Endurance HOH because she's still a bit injured from the Endurance veto. I don't think she has any chance of winning this HOH. Making this plan, while decent, yet unimpressive if the one who created it doesn't have the ability to reach her own objectives. Aza talks to Claire hours later about this plan, and Claire says she likes it. But based off this conversation, Claire was going to throw the HOH too because she doesn't want to put a bigger target on herself with the 2 weeks of safety. Aza tells Claire she wants Alyssa gone more. Then Aza says she wishes Christian would have thrown her up next to Whitney because then she would have the reason next week to target Alyssa. So now this woman says, I wish I was thrown up this week because at least I would have the reason to target them next week. So once again, Aza is acting like avoiding the block wasn't the best case scenario for her game because she can't figure out a way to work around her moral compass heading into another week. She wants everyone to put her difficulty mode on easy. You know what I mean? It's so weird to me, yo. It's so weird. If she had been thrown up, the deal to reciprocate safety wouldn't be in play. This deal is being held over Aza's head right before jury, and this is why I believe she would throw the next HOH even if she wasn't bruised up from that veto comp. Aza questioned Xavier's manhood for not throwing up Whitney next to Brent, only to admit on television that pettiness motivated that. I can't help but notice Aza being after Alyssa is serving that same purpose. Let's not forget, Xavier is more attracted to Alyssa than Whitney. If Whitney had Aza that bothered, Alyssa has to be doing the same thing, if not worse. But at least Alyssa is targeting Aza, so from a storytelling perspective, Aza would look less petty if she did get Alyssa out. I'm a bit concerned, though, that Aza may be telling Claire too much information. Now Claire knows Aza is contemplating breaking her word. Claire wants Alyssa and Christian to make jury more than SB, just like Xavier does, while Aza clearly has an agenda towards another pretty woman. Claire has every reason to go along with this plan because she doesn't want to win this HOH, but Aza needs to watch what she tells Claire in the future. If Tiffany has already stressed to Aza that SB is her target, Aza should assume Claire wants the same thing. This shows how much tunnel vision Aza has by wanting Xavier to herself and how she doesn't remember certain information that she should be using in other conversations due to the tunnel vision. Claire seems to fear a double eviction coming right after her safety is lifted. She tells Aza if Kings win HOH next week, they probably throw up Hannah and DX. Claire admits to wanting to keep DX over Hannah and Kai if it ever came to that. Aza agrees because her relationship with DX is much better than the other two. Claire is fully buying that DX doesn't know the game, showing that Zhao has Claire in his midst. Aza then says she thought she had this all figured out weeks ago. How she thought Brent and Whitney had this game in the bag, but both are going out without a fight. Claire believes it's the house versus Christian and Alyssa, but once one of them goes, the house target could be anyone, even Claire. This tells me Claire is scared of being the house target because of her safety twist, and this is why she wants to never take the house targets out because she wants the shields. So, at the end of the day, for Claire's game, it never behooves her to do what the house wants because she believes the minute she does what the house wants, she'll become the house target. So, from her perspective, she'll never really take a shot at that showmance because they are the perfect shield for her to blend in and keep pushing forward. Now, Aza asks if she's bad at the game because she wanted Brent out, but nobody would say it for weeks until it became the house's decision. Claire then tells Aza a lot of this is due to the terrain Frenchie left the game in. Aza finally admits her week 1 safety pampered her, and it gave her a skewed perspective of the game. She admits she didn't start experiencing the real game until week 2, further proving my read on her was always right. Aza's excuse for not winning the HOH Xavier won had to do with her not listening to the question and going on patterns. That admission tells me she threw that HOH comp. Who makes their answer false just because the last correct answer wasn't true? Claire let this slide, but that didn't even make sense to me, especially when the comp was based on memorizing what Tom Green said and did in the video clips. I'm documenting this to show Aza will do more of the same in this endurance comp. Hannah meets up with Xavier to go over dates. 20 minutes later, Tiffany approaches Zhao to secure the 5 she wants to branch out from Royal Flush. Zhao tells Tiffany Kylan's order of who he wants to take out amongst the Royal Flush is Christian, then Alyssa, then Xavier, then Sarah Beth. Tiffany tells Zhao to just go along with whatever Kai says. Now, Zhao made it clear to Kai he is coming for Sarah Beth because she has been vocally against aces. Zhao confirms to Tiffany that Kylan is on to her, trying to get SB out because Kai told Zhao specifically him and Tiffany well, he and Tiffany has his blessings if they decide to target Sarah Beth. Tiffany is getting uncomfortable and doesn't want SB to grow jealous of her being too close to Kai. Zhao says that's the smartest approach this week. Apparently, there was this game the house was playing, and SB chose to spy on Tiffany and Kylan while they were reading the Bible. Tiffany then noticed how SB, Brittany, and Kai went to work out all together. So now it makes more sense why Tiffany told Zhao and Hannah about SB and Brittany being closer than they think. So I'm connecting the dots here. Tiffany saw Brittany, Kai, and SB go to work out together, and she's like, that might be a trio all of a sudden. So that's why she's painting the target on Brittany being close to Sarah Beth. Also, you have to understand, for every black cookout member within Royal Flush, their ideal boot order is SB and Brittany. Brittany, SB. So at the end of the day, this is all sound gameplay. Zhao and Kylan both don't see Alyssa as a threat. I think they are vastly underestimating Alyssa the Enchantress. So we have Hannah the Huntress and Alyssa the Enchantress. I personally believe she's the Enchantress now. Zhao believes it's him and Kai versus Christian and Xavier. Whichever duo of men targets the other is probably set up for success. But with Xavier wanting SB gone, it's arguable that Xavier has already began to flip. But of course, we know X still wants Christian to at least make jury for his game. Tiffany asks Zhao what the plan for them is. DX says he can't see a path to make the end that doesn't include Kylan in it because he just isn't close enough to Christian. This leads to Tiffany offering a Final Four deal involving herself, DX, Hannah, and Kylan. The same Final Four Hannah and Tiffany agreed upon earlier in the week. Zhao definitely is good with that deal, but right now, because Hannah isn't clued in on Royal Flush, Zhao isn't really comfortable making promises he can't keep to her. Tiffany believes Royal Flush is about to end, though. Zhao now regrets taking out Brent early because Hannah fed off of Whitney's need to get out Brent. Both DX and Tiffany agree Hannah is too emotionally charged in the game. She takes things too personal. This is why Derek X is nervous about going to the end with her, and Hannah and Whitney being thrown up right after, leaving aces with only two people heading into the final week of pre-jury, naturally has Zhao concerned. Turns out, Hannah said she would have self-evicted if Brent stayed another week. I didn't know that until I watched feeds. Supposedly Hannah said that. Hannah, you should never make people believe you're willing to quit. That's my opinion on it. Don't ever give them the opening to think you're a Frenchie. But anyway, now, Zhao feels like he is carrying all the weight for aces. He feels like Hannah isn't contributing to his game specifically enough. I argue Zhao's frustration with Hannah is similar to how Tiffany views Aza in a sense. Hence why Tiffany understands where Zhao is coming from. Tiffany eventually says she can't play this game with DX. She can't play this game without DX and Hannah. She would have to self-evict if they left her in this house with Brittany. Both of them laugh. Honestly, it feels like Zhao would rather have Claire in Final Four with him, Kylan, and Claire because he thinks Hannah doesn't complement his game as much as Claire. Alyssa is gunning for this next HOH 100%. Seems like there is some friction between Alyssa and Christian developing as well. Alyssa sees Christian as someone who can still play well without her, but she sees herself as someone who has become very reliant on Christian. So Alyssa's motivation to win this next HOH, besides keeping King safe, of course, is to make individual deals and bonds to safeguard her game more, because that's what Christian has done. Christian has final twos outside of her, but she has none really outside of him. And it seems like Alyssa is jealous of Brittany having a final two deal with Christian now, to the point where she even said if Alyssa wins HOH, she's throwing up Brittany. So now it feels like Alyssa is becoming territorial over Christian towards Brittany. So now Brittany, the one girl who I'd argue is probably long term has your best interest, Alyssa, even if you're kind of competing over the same guy to an extent, even though I don't think Christian will ever choose her over you. But I get why you would feel threatened by her. Aza felt the same way about Whitney, right? But I'm showing this to y'all to show you all, Aza's not the only woman that feels this way. Aza's not the only insecure one. I don't want you all to be under the impression that only Aza is getting the smoke. All of these women should be doing better than this. All of these women are far more attractive than their thirstiness suggests. You know? And they're far smarter than their thirstiness suggests. I've said this several times. This is the smartest assortment of women to ever play a Big Brother US season. That's facts. And it's because they look for you legit fans of this game. They didn't look for social media influencers, right? And that's why the women are playing so hard. Now, granted, They acting like social media influencers the way they so thirsty over these dudes protecting them. But hey, that happens, man. When you get put in the house with a whole bunch of strangers and you get that one person you can relate to, you start to get a bit, you start to choose a little bit. It is what it is. You start to choose. Now, it's clear to me Alyssa is hating on Christian a bit here. He went with his gut and didn't play her game this week, so now she feels like he is playing better than her. Brittany, isn't this more examples of a woman failing to get a man to simp during his HOH week? But that's neither here nor there. Brittany offered Christian a final two, and he wants Alyssa in on that final three, but Alyssa has to nominate Brittany next week, so she doesn't want that deal being made before necessary. Alyssa is acting like Sarah Beth. Both of them fail to see what they already have and complain about what they don't have. SB complains about not competing for a veto, and Alyssa complains about not winning an HOH. Let's not forget, Alyssa is the same woman who said she would sacrifice Christian in a heartbeat for her game. So her being mad about this is her being frustrated with losing power over this showman's dynamic. That's what's going on. She's losing leverage over the showman's dynamic. People are a lot more scared to throw up Christian than they are to throw up Alyssa. If anything, even Derek Zhao has said, we might have to backdoor this dude, Christian. But Zhao, you got to be careful. The minute you authorize that, you're getting backdoored. So be careful there. That's my honest opinion there, Zhao. Be careful there. Because the more you start speaking that into existence, the more you give people the cue to do the same to you. But yeah, and with Aza trying to get Alyssa out before SB, it makes sense for Alyssa to gun for this HOH. Now, let's get to Wednesday's feeds. Around 12:50 a.m., this is, of course, kind of Tuesday night-ish, but it's Wednesday technically, Kylan and SB begin talking game after doing some yoga. Both of them admit to losing trust in Tiffany. SB says she's in a bad position because she can't afford to nominate any of the jokers if she wins HOH, meaning Sarah Beth is pretty much forced to either throw up DX and Hannah or throw up Hannah and Tiffany. And based off what Xavier told Hannah earlier on Wednesday's feeds, Xavier fully expects Sarah Beth to throw up Hannah and Tiffany if she's HOH. So once again, we have Aza copping pleas, trying to target Alyssa before SB. Now you could argue, well, Alyssa's probably after two black women too, Dave. But I'd argue she's after one black woman that ain't played that well and another one that's played well. Whereas SB is after two black women that have played well. SB got to go first. That's how I look at it. She got to go first. Now, for Aza's game, SB's not coming after me no time soon because I'm trash at the game. So from Aza's perspective, why would I ever go after SB? SB know I ain't good at this game. So I can see both sides of it. But from a cookout perspective, SB's got to be first priority. Absolutely. Before Alyssa? Heck yeah. And that says a lot because after Christian won that veto, I was saying, oh, he's the next boot. He's the next target. But now, I got to give you credit, Christian. You kind of blended back in and you'd allow Sarah Beth to dig her own grave. So it is what it is. Now, SB says she's in a bad position because she can't afford to nominate any of the jokers. As SB and Kylan are talking, Tiffany walks in the workout room to tell SB they are waiting for her to come back to bed in the coral room for lights to get cut off, rushing this conversation. So if SB is not going to throw up any jokers, that means Zhao, Hannah, and Tiffany are her most likely nominations next week. I think Tiffany only goes up if veto is used, but this is more reason why fans don't want SB winning this endurance comp. After everyone else goes to bed, Kylan then proceeds to use chess pieces to figure out how to traverse next week. Kylan has to know the best thing for his game is probably to win this HOH himself to keep SB safe, and so he can choose who doesn't make jury. For his game, the only player that makes sense for Kai to take out is Brittany unless he blows up Royal Flush. And see, here's the thing, Kai. You can't really afford to be the one to blow up Royal Flush yourself because you already kind of sort of blew up Slaughterhouse yourself. You don't want to be viewed as the guy who doesn't keep his word with the alliances he forms. So for Kai's game, he's got to take out Brittany himself too. And he's got to ask Aza to get up on that block to cover up Cookout. That's the only way it makes any sense. He can't throw up Zhao. He can't throw up Hannah. Claire's safe, but he wouldn't throw up Claire anyway. She's on his team. Well, she was on his team before the team comp was lifted. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the only person it makes any sense for Kai to go after, Kai winning HOH would really be to guarantee SB makes jury, more so than I want Brittany going that bad. Brittany is just the one person for a game reason he can go after because, look, I nominated you before. I know you coming for me. That type of thing. Now, for his game, the only player that makes sense for Kai to take out is Brittany. Next week, I expect Royal Flush to be blown up regardless unless a member of Team Kings wins HOH. If Kai wants SB and Hannah to make jury, he gotta win HOH himself. Or he has to hope Aza or Flambeau step up, which is highly unlikely. Xavier warns Christian about the campaign Whitney has in store to make Hannah go home. Christian hasn't straight up said Whitney is the target, but she's smart enough to know what's up. Xavier coaches up Christian to say he can't change the house target this late into the week because he needs to look out for his own game next week. At 11 a.m., Frazier goes up to the HOH to talk game with the showmans. Flambeau is hoping the next HOH comp is the golden ticket comp that was infamously rigged for Paul Beta-Hamian during BB19. This was the Candy Crush competition that was completely toxic, if you all remember. It occurred right after Cody's HOH reign. Remember, the entire house threw it to Paul? It was so dumb. And it was actually meant to be an endurance comp on feeds, but it was over by the time feeds came back type stuff. One of the worst comps I've ever seen. One of the worst. Frazier proceeds to put on an Oscar-worthy performance, acting like there is no way Alyssa and Christian will be targeted before him. Flambeau even said people might think he's a social threat. He gotta be trolling at this point, coach. Hannah speaks to Whitney in the bathroom after this, and Whitney shares with her how the whole house threw her under the bus for targeting Xavier and Christian. Hannah agrees it makes no sense for Whitney to throw those names out there. Hannah then confirms they are both on the block because the men want a woman to go home. Hannah even shared the information about Whitney being a feminist playing a role in the strategy as well. Both women agree to do one-on-ones, but they don't want them to take very long. Now, I didn't really document a lot of Whitney's one-on-ones because at the end of the day, she wasn't staying anyway. So most of the one-on-ones that I documented in the notes were Hannah's because I need you all to understand how she views these different players who guaranteed her they would vote for her to stay. Now, Whitney talks to Kylan, but everything she has to say is falling on deaf ears. Kai used this conversation to fish for information from her more than anything else. Whitney says the two nominees she is after is a guy and a girl. I believe this is a bold-faced lie because she blames Zhao and Kylan the most for her nomination. So she is only saying she would throw up a woman to denounce the feminists within. Pay attention. While this is happening, Tiffany and SB are discussing relationships and trust issues, but it feels like they were sneak dissing each other the whole time. You got Sarah Beth talking about relationships, how if they're lying or if they're sneaky, I'll just straight up break up with them. And then you got Tiff talking about how, oh, I'm the same way. Don't deceive me. That will make me not trust you. And once that happens, it will take a long time to regain it. And I feel like they was both looking at each other, subliminally shitting on each other. Very funny scene, y'all. This sounds like two people arguing over gameplay subconsciously. Around 12:18 p.m., Claire talks to Cams. She is worried about not being perceived as an individual player. Claire sees she can work with Brittany, Aza, Alyssa, and Tiffany heading into jury. It also appears she has been trying to throw Frazier's name out there as a target just to see what comes back to test these other women, but nothing has been said, so she thinks they can be trusted. Claire believes targeting Flambeau keeps her off the radar of the other women. She also believes she could take Hannah to the end and beat her, but she can't roll with the punches well enough to get her there. Claire is open to hearing Whitney out, but Claire seems all in with taking out SB next week. Hannah speaks to DX before her one-on-ones begin. Zhao tells her Kylan is seeing the tide turn against SB so she can take the shot without fear. Turns out SB randomly asked DX if he plans on winning HOH, and DX said he wasn't sure. So SB wanted Zhao to go for HOH because she believes Kylan can control Zhao's nominations. Either that, or she was trying to get a read on Zhao before the HOH to see if he was after her. Regardless, SB has been acting out of character all week, and these small mistakes are creating some game reasoning for the whole house to take her out. Nobody wants to piss off the showmans and have one still in jury after them, and nobody wants that Excalibur smoke. So the only king left is Sarah Beth. Hannah says if she can't take out a king next week due to some weird reason, she will get Brittany out. When Hannah talks to Aza, both women agree the house isn't revealing much until HOH. Aza mentions how the house learned their lesson from last week, and nobody wants to be Whitneyed heading into next week. Hannah learned from Whitney of all people about Aza telling Christian she would have thrown him up. Aza owns up to this mistake, and Hannah even says she didn't think Aza would have been dumb enough to say it. Hannah then covers for Xavier in front of Aza by saying she had no idea who Xavier would nominate his HOH week, even though all the live feed watchers know Hannah was the sole reason why Xavier threw Brittany up. So, yeah, Hannah, you're playing smart in front of Aza, because if Aza finds out you played a role in Brittany going up, she gonna cape for that girl all over again. We know what it is. You know, Aza says it's 5+1 with the cookout, but it feels like if Brittany was involved in the cookout, she would make it 6. But let's continue. Now, Aza confronts Hannah about throwing her name out there. According to Kings, they realize King said this to keep them targeting each other over Kings, so they squash it. Hannah also defends Tiffany by saying it wasn't her who tried to create beef between aces and jokers. By process of elimination, Alyssa or Sarah Beth has to be the culprit. Both women agree they need all 6 to make jury for majority before Aza leaves. Aza goes to get Frazier to talk next. Hannah goes to get Frazier to talk next. She asks Frazier if she's missing anything while she's been on the block from his vantage point. Frazier says the only thing that matters is to keep focus. Frazier guarantees her his vote, but he tells her she must win this next HOH because the cookout needs her to win it the most. Nobody else in the cookout has the same game excuse to take the shot at Kings. Frazier, like Tiffany, shockingly prefers SB gone over Alyssa. Even though you can argue SB is closer to jokers than Alyssa, that tells me a lot. So this is proof he is branching off from the path Aza and Brittany are walking down. Frazier wants Kai freed up from SB because that brings him one step closer to being Kai's number 1. Hannah mentions how before SB turned on her, Hannah thought SB was a shield for her game, but SB choosing to target Hannah this week has flipped her perspective on her entirely. So Hannah and SB are the female versions of Zhao and Christian, essentially. Hannah speaks to Brittany after. They both agree Hannah needs to win this HOH. Brittany doesn't want to take any shots. Aza deep down doesn't want to take any shots. It behooves Jokers 100% to have Hannah take that shot because then Jokers will be included in more information after Kings get targeted. So even though Hannah could take Brittany out next week in the worst possible scenario, even Brittany will vote to keep Hannah this week. Hannah speaks to Kylan after Brittany around 2 p.m. During this talk, Hannah is trying really hard to lower her threat level by acting like she didn't throw previous puzzle comps. She is on to Kai being on to her, so it's a battle of wits going on. Kylan tells Hannah he is losing his read on DX. Hannah lowers Zhao's threat level by saying his memory is worse than hers. Ooh, the type of gameplay. People are covering for each other here. When Hannah asks Kai about SB, Kai lied by saying SB isn't after her. He then says he doubts Sarah Beth can win this HOH over all of them unless it's a puzzle. Kai says he feels strongly that SB is going into next week believing she doesn't have to win the HOH, but we know that's also a lie because SB already told Kai she is losing trust in Tiffany on top of Hannah. Kai says if the 6 agrees on taking out SB, he is prepared to do it. We'll see about that. I feel like if Kai wins veto, he might use that thing, and I think that would be one of the worst mistakes Kai's made in this game. But hey, man, that's a vote for you in jury. You know, I can't knock somebody for trying to aim towards their win conditions, but that's risky to me. Hannah talks to Claire, but this conversation is inconsequential because Claire is safety. Hannah and Claire are actually starting to believe SB could be America's player. So Tiffany thought SB knew Kai preseason, and now these two women think SB is a production's pet. Yeah, SB will need an infinity stone to not get evicted next week. You feel it? Dig me, coach. I gotta keep it funky in these streets, SB. Now they framing you for being America's player, coach. They calling you Eric Stein. You feel it? They saying you got the all-American features, coach. They dog whistling from a black perspective now. They're like, hey man, listen now. We've seen this game get rigged for a whole bunch of people that look similar now. Let's not let her gain no momentum now. You know what I mean? The shade is too strong. Claire keeps Hannah focused on targeting SB and guarantees Hannah has her vote before leaving. Hannah then talks to Xavier. She clues him in on how everyone has promised her their vote so far. Xavier says he's going to be the hood one in the group by voting to keep Whitney as a joke. It's expected to be a unanimous vote in Hannah's favor, which it was tonight, 10-0. Which is perfect for X because before this week began, I was concerned he would have to reveal cards prematurely by voting to keep Hannah, but his impeccable social game made it impossible for his game to be compromised after staying on code so well. Xavier then mentions how persistent Dr. Bones has become with targeting Hannah, how Hannah not winning anything debunks the theory she will win something. But of course, Sarah Beth believes she is throwing. but everyone has thrown a comp so far. For Hannah to only be mentioned in this way tells Hannah it's a personal beef. Isn't that what I said in the last rant? It also appears Hannah was the last person in the house to see something, and this is contributing to SB wanting Hannah out more. But I don't know what Hannah saw based off how fast she whispered this. Now, it basically involved Hannah being the last person in a room to see something, but I don't know what she saw. But whatever she saw, Sarah Beth must have also saw. And she thinks this is the reason why Sarah Beth wants her gone so bad. I would love to know in the comment section below if any of y'all have figured out what she saw. Because I replayed this conversation over, I cannot figure out what the heck she was saying. You know, when you're whispering too fast, I'm like, wait, what did she see? What did she say? So please comment below if you know. Hannah tells X she plans to tell Christian she won't clap back at him. She's hoping that will buy a week of safety from the showmance in the future if she gets SB out. And it also tells me Brittany is the likely nominee next to Sarah Beth if Hannah really wants Alyssa to keep that deal. But only time will tell. Xavier confirms SB would throw up Hannah next to Tiffany, no question. And he also says Brittany would throw up him next to Kai. So as long as Brittany or SB go next, the cookout are fine. And this shows me Xavier's read is so good. He knows exactly who Brittany goes for. He knows exactly who Sarah Beth goes for. And Sarah Beth has not announced out loud she would go after Tiffany in front of X, but X can see it. He was in that meeting. And see, X, he was the one person that represented Team Kings in that meeting who wasn't on the bed. So he was like in between both groups. So he got to see what was really popping off. Man, X is, man, listen, I'm so glad they brought a brother in here that's an attorney. He ain't playing no games. He ain't playing no games, bruh. He ain't. Hannah speaks to Sarah Beth. It's time for the clash of the Titans. At this point, Hannah has the votes to stay locked in, but now she is trying to get a stronger read on Sarah Beth, who she knows is an op. SB covers for Christian, mentioning Hannah as a pawn. SB says she won't vote against Hannah because she is the pawn. Hannah asks Dr. Bones what she wants to do heading into next week, and SB acts like she doesn't know, of course. Hannah asks SB what she has missed while on the block. SB dodges this question until she asks it a second time, showing she is purposely withholding her cards. And since SB is close to Jokers, she can't even afford to announce she would target them next in front of Hannah, making it super obvious Sarah is talking to her target. So ladies and gentlemen, that's where my feeds notes ended. Essentially, I left the book somewhat halfway open. If I had to give you all the power rankings, though, before we get into answering your questions, Xavier's number one. I still believe Xavier is he's dancing circle around these people. It's a joke now. It's a joke team. I still believe Claire is playing second best. I think Zhao, even the mistake he made regarding Whitney, I'll let that slide because that egg roll stuff still pisses me off. Zhao's third. Fourth place, we got to go Tiffany, Miss Tippy Toes. And if I have to go fifth place, Kylan doesn't deserve to be there. He messed up a few times. Sarah Beth can't be there. She messed up a few times. Christian can't be there. He choked. Aza, I don't know what she's doing. Frazier, he made it last time. But I don't think he's really done enough since then to make it again. Brittany is Brittany. You know, yeah, if I'm going to pick someone for fifth place, I'm probably going to say Alyssa. I think Alyssa's read is really sound. I think she's growing jealous of Christian not needing her. I think she expected Christian to be this deer in headlights in love, willing to do whatever it takes for only her, willing to fall on his sword for her. But Christian not doing exactly what she wanted with these noms. By him throwing up Whitney and Hannah, leaving it open-ended for Hannah to stay. Make no mistake about it here. Those cornrows, those braids that Queen Tiffany put in that boy's head helped us this week. So for all the people complaining to CBS about them, oh, it's culturally appropriating these cornrows that he's wearing. Hey, man, that's why someone black didn't go home this week. You need to be thankful Tiffany braided that man's hair, all right? I'm keeping it all the way funky in these streets. She braided that boy's hair like he's D'Angelo, all right? But let's get into answering some of y'all questions, and please do not forget to hit that like button for the kid. I hope y'all have enjoyed this rant so far. And I'm in no rush to leave y'all tonight, all right? I'm on my way to the live feed so I can watch it from my phone while I answer questions on the laptop, All right, we're going to try to multitask to the highest of degrees tonight. But yeah, so essentially, before I pull up this endurance comp, most fans are rooting for Hannah to win this because at the end of the day, SB would go after Tiffany and Hannah. That's just the truth of it all. I wouldn't mind a Joker winning, but I don't want Brittany winning. So it makes me have to put faith in Aza and Frazier, and I just don't think a wall comp with Aza's broken down body due to the veto and with Frazier's body composition, body type, I just don't think this is a good fit for him. And because of that, I think we all have to be all in on rooting for Hannah here. I'm on my way to the feed. Oh, whoa, the HOH already over. Whoa! Hold up, coach. Wait a minute. Who won? Hold up. I'm in the chat room. Who won? Derek X won? Oh, wait a minute. DX. Degeneration is a something, fool. I just got time of doing what I'm Let's get it cracking, DX. I told them this dude DX was going to become the forbidden one. All right? All he needed was the time wizard, coach. That's all he needed. Now it's on and popping in these streets. Team Twist lifted. It's an individual game. Christian, you in trouble. It's lit in these streets. And see, that's the thing. If I'm DX, though, honestly, for your long-term game, I think you got to take Brittany out. I think you got to do it, bro. She's not connected to you. She's not connected to the Royal Flush. You don't want to be the first one to take that shot at Royal Flush. Also, he's aware of the fact that Christian told him that Jokers threw aces under the bus. Aces threw Jokers under the bus. From a game reasoning standpoint, now with Derek Zhao as the HOH, it makes all the sense in the world to go after Brittany. Now, I get it. That's just for the initial noms. I'm saying if Vito is one, he's going to backdoor Christian. I think he's going to get talked into it. But Zhao, I'm nervous, bro. If you go through with this, you're going to be the guy they backdoor. Don't do it. In my opinion, Zhao, the best thing for your game, keep Christian around a little longer as a shield, the same way he kept you around a little longer as a shield. Do not fire that first strike, because the minute you do, you give the women a huge advantage. You do not want to head into jury with only 4 men. That's the reason why Whitney had to go last week. The strategy, without a doubt, coach, is for you to send Petulance to the Shadow Realm. B-Rabbit Jr. to the Shadow Realm. All right? You feel it, dig me? Fake Mile. You feel it, dig me? It's time to send her to the Shadow Realm. Look, I get it. Everyone feels like Brittany is a waste of an HOH to take out. But do you really want her in the jury trying to grift for AFP all damn day? I don't need that in my life, coach. I don't. And to be fair, I want Aza and Frazier to know, it's the Infinity War now. There's no Brittany to hide behind. If there's going to be a pawn, it's going to be because you made a mistake and you became one. No ifs, ands, or candy nuts or buts. But man, I'm excited. I was so worried Hannah had too much pressure on her. DX he lifted that pressure off her. And yes, while Hannah would have went after SB, and I know that this probably leads to DX not targeting SB because that would lead to him blowing up Royal Flush. I think from a who deserves to be in jury standpoint, if DX were to get out Brittany and blend back in, if you're a DX fan, that's good for DX. Who takes that shot at DX for getting out Brittany? Do y'all think Frazier and Aza going to win an HOH to get at DX? Especially when Aza is that concerned with Alyssa? Not at all. DX can actually benefit from sending her to the Shadow Realm, and he back in the cut with it, just minding his own business. You feel it, Davey? I'd argue that is what Christian did by getting out Whitney. He about to blend right back in, because Zhao should know he needs Christian to at least make the jury to have that shield for himself. So, woo! I'm excited, coach. I'm excited, coach. Woo! I did not expect it. See, that's why I made this rant pseudo deep divey, because I had a feeling feeds would come back. You know what I mean? And for all the people who don't know what feeds are looking like right now, yeah, they talking right now. It looks like DX is talking to Aza in the storage room. It looked like Team Kings is in the bathroom looking a little lemon booty. They look. They looking a little. Hey, did we treat DX well lately? I don't know. We did put up 2 aces last week. You know what I'm saying? They look a little nervous in these streets. You feel it, Damien? Now, if I know anything about Tiffany, if I know anything about the queen of the tippy of toes, she's gonna listen, man. She is finna be like Palpatine to a young Anakin Skywalker. She gonna whisper in she gonna whisper in this dude ears on the yin yang twin side of the game, and she gonna get him to come to the dark side, young Skywalker. You feel it? Dig me. She's gonna want him. I don't think she's gonna want Christian gone this soon. But I think she's gonna try to get Zhao to get SB out of there. And see, that's the thing. I don't think for Zhao's game he can. But see, that's another thing though. Zhao could argue he's looking for a pawn. Jokers have been thrown up too much. He needs someone to throw up next to Brittany. That could be his way to finesse Sarah Beth on the block next to Brittany. Hey guys, I need a pawn. We need to cover up this alliance's existence. And at the end of the day, can Sarah Beth really afford to approach DX with that type of smoke? And at the end of the day, let's keep it real. I'm actually talking myself into why Sarah Beth going home anyway. Because Sarah Beth has vocally targeted Hannah, which is her vocally targeting aces. Technically, Zhao has game reasoning to get out SB. He does. But will Zhao risk making Kai look at him differently just to do the work of Hannah? I think Zhao showing us on these feeds he is not willing to be Hannah's little puppet. Him showing us he is more likely to work long-term with Claire than Hannah. It has to be him also showing us he's the type to take out Brittany and blend back in. But I think Claire and Tiffany are going to try to push super hard for SB to go because Claire sees a weapon in Brittany she can use against Tiffany later. Now Tiffany will want Brittany gone. I think the ideal nominees are Brittany next to Sarah Beth. I think those are the nominees. But how does he has the excuse. But what is his excuse for throwing up Brittany though? In theory, if you're just going to throw up Brittany, shouldn't you just throw up Alyssa too? Guarantee the Kings have to eat their own? Why even half-step it? Well, I guess that was Aza's plan though, right? To half-step it. But that plan was with queens, not with aces. Which could lead to aces throwing up a joker as a pawn. Woo! See, we moving at a fast pace now thinking. If I was a betting man, I think Brittany's on that block next to Sarah Beth. If I'm a betting man, Tiffany has been pushing super hard that SB and Brittany are close. Brittany would, in theory, be a vote to keep Sarah Beth over anyone else Sarah Beth is next to, even Alyssa. So DX can create the game excuse as to why Brittany had to be thrown up next to her. You know what? That's the best game move. You got to throw up Brittany next to SB. That's the best way for Zhao to please all of the women who are working closest to him that want to take him to Final Four. And it's the best way of guaranteeing one of the targets that no one would mind going home is sitting on that block on Thursday. I think it's smart. And by not throwing up a member of the Showmans or Xavier, it's not really a shot against Kings. It's really just you throwing up Sarah Beth, who hasn't had to touch the block and feel that yet, and you throwing up Brittany, who's been a pawn before. So you can almost hide behind X and Kai's gameplay as HOH with the Brittany nom. And then with the Sarah Beth one, we get to all see her break bad slowly but surely under pressure. And see, that's the thing. I think if Zhao throws up Sarah Beth, it's warranted because Sarah Beth has tried to make a target out of Zhao since week 2. So, you know what? I think these are the only nominations that make sense, and this is coming from me not watching any feeds. I hope my read is correct. Now I'm ready to answer y'all questions. I just wanted to give y'all my legit, candid, organic reaction to what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? Shaolin Zhao, Selena. I told them, boy, y'all better be careful in these streets. You feel it, dig me? Zhao is not playing games. Zhao on the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ting Ring side of the game. Boy, Zhao is not playing with y'all tonight. Y'all better be careful now. All right, this is phase 4 of the Marvel stuff. All right, Zhao coming for the smoke. And yes, please, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to hit that like button for the kid. I hope y'all are being entertained tonight. That's my aim. DX crotch chop all day. Oh, on the X-Pac side of the game. You know what I'm saying? On the X-Pac side of the game. On the one night in China side of the game. Now, if you know that one. You're a nasty man if you do, but if you know, you know. So funny how Hannah said her team don't win nothing. DX said bet. In fact, she did say that tonight. We haven't won anything, Julie. DX like, I'm the veto king. What do you mean? Right? And then Hannah was like, oh, I mean, we haven't won any safety, Julie, for the team. I'm sorry. You know, and then DX is like, cold water? Endurance comp? This is nothing. I'm making jury. You know what I mean? DX, man. Man, the legend of DX is something serious right now, man. I'm so glad I was on the DX train before it was popular to do. I'm seeing a lot of people now like DX because it's popular to like him. And it's like, you fake. But anyway, DX's best move to take out a Joker. In my opinion, I think sending Brittany out the door is best for DX. In my opinion. What? Sarah Beth or Brittany. As long as one of them goes, DX is good. He had a good HOH week. He protected Kylan and Xavier if Brittany goes. If he takes out Sarah Beth, he's protecting Tiffany and Hannah. Either way, he's protecting some black folks as long as he gets one of these girls out. And that's gonna gain him some more. That's gonna bring him in even deeper into the fray. I wouldn't be surprised if DX become a 7th member of the cookout if he does this week. You know what I mean? Not legitimately be a 7th member, but it's like goes without being said kind of 7th member. Gabby asked the question, Coach, should DX be invited to... Hey, it's funny, you just alluded to that. You know what? I think he already got a plate. He already got his spork. You know what I mean? He already got his knife. You feel it, dig me? He just looking at the spread right now. He trying to see what he trying to choose from right now. Everything look like a nice delicacy to him right now. He being patient with what he indulges in. You know what I mean? He isn't like he was in week 1 where he just ran to the first food he wanted to eat and just started arguing. And then he had indigestion problems. Now DX is more refined. You know what I'm saying? Now he knows to pace himself. He eats slowly like he on slop. And he's never full because of it. You know what I'm saying? He always wants more, you know? I'm happy for this man. I'm happy for him. Gabby says she wants Brittany and Flambeau on the block. Honestly, that would make sense too. Mainly because if your name is Derek, you shouldn't want another Derek in the game. And at the end of the day, I don't mind that either because it would ensure Brittany leaves. You know? And this would actually give Zhao more of an excuse if he were to replace someone, Sarah Beth with someone because veto was used. It would make him look less like he turned on the alliance. So that those nominations wouldn't be bad either. Britt needs to go back to the hood in Niagara Falls. Enough is enough. Joey Savage going crazy in these streets. Deadwalk says, honestly, I'm not expecting too much of this week. I see where you're coming from, Deadwalk. This feels like the same group keeps winning. But at the end of the day, this is just all about shaping jury in a certain light. I promise y'all, when jury starts, we're going to see the Infinity War, all right? I know everyone doesn't like to see the majority alliance getting their way early, but at least when you know the majority alliance that is likable is getting their way early, it guarantees the late game is a lot more interesting. Because how do these people turn on each other? How do they take it personal once the black folks start to turn on each other? How does that hierarchy, how is that hierarchy going to play itself out? Will someone like Aza and Frazier get to skate by in Final 6, if Cookout is Final 6, just because they played the worst games? Does it turn into a scenario where Aza and Frazier are guaranteed Final 5 just because they've been lackluster? Or is it Aza and Frazier on the block in Final 6 because they've been lackluster? That's the thing. And see, that oftentimes has to do with who wins the HOH, right? I don't see Aza and Frazier both making Final 5 unless one of them wins Final 6 HOH. I just don't see anyone coming up with an excuse for why they are keeping those two and getting rid of someone else that doesn't create animosity from someone. Like, yo, I helped carry us to this point. Well, a lot more than them two. You going to take me out first? So that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't even want to have that choice, winning Final 6 HOH in that scenario. Ooh, that'd be tough. I mean, of course, you would want to be automatically granted Final Five, but that's tough, man. Blackstar says, who is really coming from DX for getting out SB? Well, that's the thing. I think in his mind, he might not want to step on Kylan's toes this early. You know? But, if he has enough people in his ear telling him, take that shot. I mean, he got Claire in his ear saying, do it. You got Tiffany saying, do it. You got Hannah saying, do it. That's 3 women that you value the most in this house already. And if you're a guy, you shouldn't want another guy gone before jury, so you should want a woman gone. So, in my opinion, that's why Brittany and SB makes the most sense to me. But once again, when you're Zhao, when you're that lone wolf part of this huge 8-person alliance, you don't want to create an excuse for those 7 to turn on you next week. And that's why I could see a scenario where 2 jokers could hit the block initially. It could happen that way. Oh, yeah. Yep. SB has vocally targeted DX. You are correct, Blockstar. Aza won't let DX put Brittany on the block. As if Aza has a say in it. Are you kidding me, coach? Huh? Who do you think DX fears more, the other 7 Royal Flush members or Aza? Seriously. Who do you think he fears more? I'm just keeping it real, AAA. Yes, please don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you so much, Miss Selena. I appreciate you. Marion Ali says, hey now, looks like SB can finally play Vito like she wanted. Hold up, Marion. Hold up. You trying to get an Infinity Stone tonight. He trying to get, hey. We finna throw that Infinity Stone your way. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. That was a zing. If Zingbot was here, he'd go crazy right now. Damn, you tried to send him to the Shadow Realm. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I accidentally pinned your comment. Oops. I tried to make you a moderator, not pin the comment. I'm tweaking in these streets. My bad. All right, now you good. But at least everyone saw the good comment, right? You know what I mean? If this was a mystery thriller movie, SB would definitely be the. Oh, snap. For the algorithm purposes, I'm not going to say that last word. You feel me? They after the kid. They deleting comments and stuff. I got subs thinking I'm deleting their stuff. The algorithm don't like the kid. Rod asked the question, Coach, do you foresee the remaining women turning on Hannah due to her spectacular social game and ties to all the men left in the house? No. I think for now, Tiffany has her well protected, and by proxy, Claire. If you have Claire and Tiffany having your back, then you're socially very safeguarded. And as long as SB or Brittany leaves this week, then Alyssa's on an island, has a lot less influence, and this is why she's so jealous of Christian's current position. So, in my opinion, Hannah's in a great position heading into jury. Now that they had the shot to get her, she knows how they feel about her, and now she knows how to counter that. I mean, she even said during tonight's episode, people are starting to figure out how she computes information. So she's going to change the way. And see, I noticed she does have certain tales. Like, when she's talking to people and when she's downloading data that they're telling her, she tends to do that a lot. I don't know if this is her way of staying focused and like not talking too much or something, but in my opinion, she does that when she's trying to listen very attentively. So if she can figure out a way to work on those little things, she's gonna be cool, man. You know what I mean? Brit wish she could do. Y'all wild in these streets. I ain't talking about none of that stuff. You feel it, dig me? Yes, DX1 HOH Vonnie is lit in these streets. Is lit in these streets. Jay Griff says, people said last season that it would be interesting once it's just the committee. People said the same thing. It was just Paul's herd. Same thing with the Bomb Squad, 6 Cents, Quack Pack Brigade. I can see where you're getting at with this, but if you look at how this game is, this isn't a standard season. There are 2 alliances working simultaneously, and one exists to cover the other. Now, you could argue BB22 had a lot of this, and they did. But that was easily just Cody just skating. There are so many great players within both alliances. Honestly, I can't tell y'all who's going to win this game. I can see a scenario where Tiffany is that robbed goddess who plays the best but just can't win the final HOH. I can see a scenario where Kylan dominates the whole time, but somehow Zhao and Claire combined keep him from Final 5, Final 4. There are so many players with skill sets that usually would only be exclusive to one archetype a season, but we have archetypes that are blends of different specialties and characteristics to the point where there are so many different winner picks on one season. I can't be mad at the boot order because the people who have been booted have all been the people I don't think really had a chance to win this. I don't really think I think Travis could have won if he would have had time. But outside of him, I don't think Frenchie would have won. I think he made too many mistakes. I don't think Brent would have won, made too many mistakes, especially with the women. I don't think Whitney would have won, feminist mentality. So we're really, when you think about it, all the people who've been booted so far are people who probably had some of the worst chances to win. So this is not the standard season, in my opinion, where it's going to get more boring. I think it's going to ramp up really soon. And Julie even teased that next Thursday there's another twist she's going to reveal to us. So that's probably going to be her revealing the double eviction in 2 weeks, if I had to guess. You're probably going to start off jury with a double eviction. That makes sense. So that's my guess there of how it most likely probably plays out in 2 weeks. The Kings don't care about her. I mean, outside of Tiffany, is anyone really likable in this main alliance? You talking about Flush? Or you talking about Cookout? Because I think in Cookout and Flush, Xavier and Tiffany are easily likable. Same with Kylan. I think all three are easily likable. I'm not just saying that because they're the black members part of Royal Flush, but they're easily likable to me. I think Christian is likable too. Christian is the person people think is going to win the game. People think he has the ability to win out. So this is not no foregone conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want y'all to get bored, okay? This is why I'm documenting so much detail, because I want y'all to be in on what's popping off, so when it does pop off in front of you, you're not shocked, but at the same time, you get all of the social little intricacies as to why all of these smaller moves created bigger mistakes, which led to these people perceiving certain things about others. And at the end of the day, SB did more than enough work to hurt her game. She spoke up too much for Whitney. Then she tried to act like it was some big secret during the veto comp that she wanted Whitney to win when everyone could tell she wanted Whitney to win it. By the way, shout outs to the super chat that just landed. Hold on, It's from Nanye N. Thank you so much for the super chat, Coach. From now on, if you send a super chat during the live stream, you're automatically made into a mod. So you have your Infinity Stone. I don't care how little or how much it is. I appreciate you. She retracted her message. I would like to say what you wanted me to say, but unfortunately she retracted it. But thank you so much, nevertheless. And, oh, yeah, and Julie also said something about, well, maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it's not a double. Maybe, yeah, she did say America will play a role. So thank you for mentioning that, because I forgot that part about it, Ubong. It's probably going to be in America's Twist. And when you add the fact that you have Tiffany and you have Claire worried that in America's Power, when America's Twist could be handed to SB, it does feel like things are speaking themselves into existence, and it's further justifying why SB should go before jury even over Brittany. I don't think Brittany has a chance in HE double hockey sticks of being rewarded in America's Twist. I don't think white folks like Brittany culturally appropriating. I don't think black folks like Brittany culturally appropriating. I think both groups can agree she's hacky. I think both groups can agree she's grifting. And because of that, I just don't see a scenario where she ever wins that. I mean, I'm looking at some of these house guest ratings on some of these websites. People cannot stand Brittany. They can't stand her. Gabby says, will a woman win HOH this season? Gabby, by process of elimination, you know it's bound to happen at a certain point. I thought a woman was going to win this endurance. I thought the women were set up to win this one. There's an argument to be had that possibly if Whitney stays over Hannah, she could have won this one. I definitely think she would have been motivated to win it. But yes, I believe a woman will eventually win HOH. Donnie says, Tiffany, Xavier, Kylan, Hannah, DX, Christian, Alyssa, Claire are all good to great players. The only bad players are the jokers. That's facts. And that's why I'm trying to get people to see this is as good of a jury we've had in a very, very long time. It's not that many juries where you can look at 75% of them and say all of them had a chance to win. Look at BB22, a roster full of all-stars, and come back and tell me half of that jury could have won that season. Heck no. You kidding me? Outside of Cody, Enzo didn't have a chance. Only way Enzo would have lost to Nicole. Enzo would have lost to Danny, in my opinion. Only person Enzo would have beat were the black people, and that's why I criticized him during that season for turning on the black people. Enzo should have been trying to turn on Cody and take David to the end. That should have been Enzo's game. But he decided, I'm going to be a sidekick. I'm going to be a Scottie Pippen dude that complains about the last dance when it's all said and done, but you ain't trying to be the star in the moment. So how are we supposed to look at you as a superstar when you didn't even want to be a superstar when it was time for you to be one? You know, you allowed Cody to hate in you all over again, you know? And for that reason, I have less pity for this man, you know? But with that said, I don't see anyone on this type of a season just being willing to get second place money like Enzo was. I expect these players to go all out. Oh, we got another super chat that came in from insulin dependent. I can't say that other word. Aza is playing too emotional. How much longer till they get rid of her? Great super chat. I think Aza is going to most likely be that sacrificial lamb. Now, here's the thing. I fully believe the Cookout wants to go to Final Six together. I think we are vastly underappreciating and underestimating this cast of great players to assume Cookout will make up all of the Final Six. It's not going to happen. I'm going to tell y'all that right now. So don't be mad when that don't happen. Okay? That's why I try to take in these smaller W's as we go along, because there's going to come a week where we don't get our way, and I'm not going to be the one throwing a fit because it's been good. The game has been so good to us so far. All right? And I don't want us to lose sight of the perception here. At the end of the day, we have never experienced this type of week to week to week to week to week just feeling of levity, euphoria. Oh man, I ain't got to worry about nothing. This is interesting. We've never felt this before. We went through 20 years of something that a lot of these other folks can't go through 20 days of. All right? But with that said, I would be a fool to say I expect Cookout to all make the Final Six. I don't expect that to happen. I expect at some point somebody's going to try to play for themselves. I believe a Joker is most likely to play for themselves to keep Brittany in favor of getting rid of a Hannah or getting rid of a Tiffany. It feels like that's the direction the wind is blowing. That's why I wouldn't mind Brittany going before SB, before Jury, in my opinion. Because I don't want to see a scenario where Aza becomes even more hated because she chooses in Final 7 to keep Brittany safe or something, and she sends Tiffany or Hannah home. I don't even want to see that situation come to fruition, but it's possible. You know? So hopefully I gave a great heartfelt answer to your insulin. I appreciate your super chat, coach. And you've already been made into a moderator, so there's nothing else I can really do for you there. You know what I mean? I'm seeing a Final Four that consists of DX, Hannah, Tiff, and Xavier. Yeah, Xavier is definitely doing a lot of sound work to kind of steal Kylan's position in that Final Four. I don't think Kylan is even aware that he almost had this Final Four until he did a little bit too much defending of SB. But hopefully, if SB leaves this week, Kylan will get his head back on straight, similar to how Frazier got his head back on straight after Frenchie left. And Kylan has definitely more tools in his locker than Frazier has, so I believe his bounce back will be quite strong. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been the 17th rant of Big Brother 23, entitled No Point of Return. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, and this is your number one source for rants concerning Big Brother US, coach. I hope y'all have enjoyed yourselves here tonight. I tried my best to not only provide you all with the facts, but the entertainment long enough to figure out the results for this endurance comp. So y'all know what I'm up to now. I'm finna head on to these feeds, get to studying some more on what's going on. And I'm definitely going to have a great rant waiting for you all Saturday night as well. Y'all know how I gets down. So if you could, please do not forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share it with all the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with, coach. And I'm out. Deuces.